What up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Coop, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's been a real busy week for hip hop as far as like the news side of it. People still talking about this JayZ verse, and the world turns.
The world is yours.
The world is turning. I saw Nas perform. Somebody posted this on Twitter and tagged us in it. Nas performed verbal intercourse with Raekwon and Ghost. You see
Oh,
that?
what? No, where? Rock the. No, they're on tour.
They're on
Did the
tour
tour
together.
start?
Yeah. I didn't catch
Yeah.
what city this was, but yeah, they performed verbal intercourse, and the one they sent to us was Nas's verse. Shout out to everybody in the room. We got
That's
Terminator 2 first. What's up?
that's that's great for hip hop fans that Nas and them are on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and everybody's just talking about the JayZ verse. We got verbal intercourse being performed on stage, probably for the first time ever on tour.
Regularly, probably, definitely regularly. I mean, it's probably been like a surprise, like every 5 to 10 years they've probably done that. So like to get it like in the lineup, it's pretty special.
It is special, man, and it's history, and today is going to be a history type of show, but we have to really acknowledge when historical things are happening, and not just spur of the moment things. Um,
You went out for a second. I can't see you. Can you see me?
I see you. I think my camera did trip out for a second because I'm frozen on this end. Hold on one second.
No,
This
take your
would
time.
happen on live. I apologize
Shout
for
out
the
to the
tech.
people.
Yeah, shout out to the people in the room. Let's see. Maybe I pressed the wrong one here too.
You just came in for a second and
Let's
then you
see.
faded.
I'm gonna unplug this
There you
camera.
go.
This camera
I
does
can
this
see.
sometimes, man. Okay.
Oh, you're gone again.
Gone again. Looks like I'm frozen again. Do you hear me at least?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we were going to talk about Serena. We were going to talk about John Wall. While you're talking about that, let me try to fix my camera issues.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, Serena's actually about to play in a few hours, I believe, on Arthur Ashe in the second round matchup. I can see you now. She's
Okay.
actually playing against the second ranked player in the world right now tonight. And
Oh,
so she's it's going to be an uphill climb tonight, but if she can get past tonight, some things. There you are. You look much better. So,
okay.
but if she can get past tonight, some things are really going to be looking up for her because this draw is completely falling apart in the first round. Osaka's already gone. Simona Halep's already gone. She was everybody's pick to win this tournament. Last year's winner, Raducanu, who won as a qualifier last year. Mike,
I'm
you're out
frozen
again.
again. Nah, it's cool. I got it. Keep going.
Is already gone. So if Serena can actually get past tonight, she's actually set up to like really make a move in this tournament potentially. That's if she gets past tonight. But what I kind of wanted to talk about is the fact that it's like this is the greatest women's tennis player and arguably the greatest tennis player ever.
Right.
And if it were a man, as in like I can remember, I've been a tennis fan long enough to remember what Andre Agassi's like farewell was like. I can remember that. And she's not even getting the Andre Agassi treatment. And that's like a little bit of a problem for me because as much as I love Agassi, he was my favorite player growing up. As much as I love Agassi. I mean, actually, his wife was actually my favorite player. Steffi Graf was actually my favorite player. But my favorite male player was Agassi. And, he wasn't the greatest player of all time when he retired. And it was like, it felt like there was more hoopla. And I get like the whole scene that they made, but it felt like it was more hoopla within the tennis community and within just the community as a whole. And so it's just like we need to properly like state her place more appropriately. This woman has won 23 majors.
No, no, for real. I think when we talk about
24.
like the greatest athletes of this era,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it's debatable for me between her, Brady, and LeBron. That's
Yes.
where
If,
we're
if,
at.
we're, if we're talking from the 2000s on,
Yeah, 2000s
so if you
on, it's her, Brady, and LeBron to me. Because at
so
least
if
with
you
Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic, they all kind of got each other. She
right.
dominated.
Well, how about this? She would be on a 2000s Mount Rushmore. I would think it would be those people that you just named, like her included, like Tom Brady, her and LeBron and Tiger Woods.
Yep.
Like
Definitely.
that's the stratus. That's what her company looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like we need to get that all the way right. That's
Well,
what
I'm
her
looking
company
for it.
looks like. Her contemporaries are Tom Brady, LeBron James, Tiger Woods in their respective sports. That's who she is.
No, definitely. I
As
mean,
far
and
as
even to play. I mean, I know you're a tennis guy. Even to play tennis this long, it's unheard of. Because I remember tennis players being done pretty much by 30.
I mean, Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic in this generation has kind of changed things. Like
Right.
McEnroe played till he was 38, I believe. Navratilova, who along with Steffi was probably everybody's argument for the greatest women's player or player ever before Serena. Martina played doubles well into her 40s and was still winning like doubles titles like in her 40s. So not unheard of. This generation, like Serena's been greater longer. Like Serena won, I think 3 U.S. Opens in her 30s, which is a record.
Yeah.
Which may get tied by Nadal if Nadal wins this U.S. Open because he will have won 3 in his 30s too. That's what I mean. Her company is like the best of best company. Even with when you look at her contemporaries, well, Nadal's got 22, Djokovic has got 21, Federer's got 20. She's got more than all of them. They're considered to be the greatest players ever. She has one more major than.
Yeah.
Well, who's really the greatest?
It's incredible. Fantasy731 says, "Are you guys gonna still talk about the Cold Vein by Cannibal Ox?" Yes, we are, man.
And DJ Pooh's album. We're probably going to get to those items on Friday. This is going to be more of a historical, metaphorical oracle type of show. Yeah.
Oh man, we got a lot to cover, really, and it ain't even really music specific.
Yeah, let's get to the John Wall thing, and then we just gonna kind of like jump in and jump all over the place.
Yeah. Welcoming everybody into the room too. Thumbs up and thumbs up in the chat. But go ahead, you were gonna talk.
I just want to speak to mental health awareness and how mental health is real. John Wall, spoke about. I want people to understand this. This is a kid. This is a young man that's already beat the odds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a long time ago, but he's had a pretty horrific career-threatening injury. And in this time, he also lost his mother and his grandmother. And he's literally speaking about, depression, having suicidal thoughts. Like mental health doesn't have a monetary value and placement on it either.
Shit is
what I mean? It's real.
You would look at somebody like John Wall and think he has it all,
Right. And it's like, well, you get to give them the best funerals and this, that. I mean, that doesn't change the fact that they're gone, though. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, of course, he's already made millions of dollars and made all-star teams, and he's respected, within the NBA community as not an all-time great player, but a really good to great player for his era. You know what I mean?
He's not
a failure as a number one overall pick.
No,
what I'm saying?
And it's not one of those number one overall picks where you're like, y'all picked him number one? No, John Wall's talented. And I think he should have been Rookie of the Year too. I don't think that Blake Griffin should have been qualifiable, because you basically traveled and worked out with an NBA team for an NBA season, and you got somebody coming straight out of college and having to take on this NBA, regimen, right? So I don't think that's fair that he won that. But yeah, John Wall's always been dope. Great shooter, great handles. I think he's just
defensively,
been on an organization.
Coast to coast.
Yeah.
Pace. Yeah. No,
I think one of the things
before this injury, he was like a top 15-ish player.
One of the things in basketball that I think is really unfair, how we're judging some of our athletes, is there's only maybe 5 to 10 guys all time that could go in and literally just change an organization to being straight up a contender without, having things built around them as much, right? Somebody like a Michael Jordan taking Chicago from pretty much nothing to prominence. But again, he had help with his GM. I think that what happens is when guys go to organizations that don't do what they need to do to win, we put it on the individual athletes like they're coming up short. Like, no, they're not playing for organizations that are about winning and have a winning culture. And I think that John Wall's been one of those recipients of that. And I feel the same way about, Carmelo Anthony. You might disagree with me on that, but Carmelo wasn't put in the best of situations.
No, I I get and agree mostly with most of your sentiments
Because we compare these people to folks like Bird, Magic, who were put in great situations.
right.
You
I mean,
know?
and also too, this is what I mean. Is it's like, well, there's very, very few like people who we know who are like definitive game changers. Like Shaq is the person from our era who comes to mind, where it's like, man, that Orlando team was really bad, and then they got him, and they literally almost made the playoffs, and I believe finished 500 that year at 41-41.
And then they got a
pretty
number
much
one
from
pick
that
again.
moment on.
No, they got another number one pick. That's another part that we don't talk about either. They pretty much got a number one pick right after that. And we all thought they were going to get Chris Webber, and they got Penny Hardaway.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good guy to get. You know what I'm saying? Like, John Wall didn't get a damn Chris Webber or Penny Hardaway. He didn't.
I mean, people have to understand who Penny was.
Yeah.
Man, for the injury. Like,
yeah.
Man.
And Kobe Bryant got drafted into a great situation, too. Like, you know, and so did Tim Duncan. These guys are great players, but they got drafted into great situations. And
that's why I bring up that's why Shaq and Mike stand out the most. You know what I mean? Of like modern era. Mike in the 80s is probably the biggest, game changer. You want to know what Isaiah changed the Pistons?
He did. Lambeer helped change them too, from a mentality standpoint. But from a talent standpoint, Isaiah's Isaiah.
Yeah. I mean, but once again, that was great drafting because they literally got Isaiah and immediately surrounded him with what he needed. Like, he got it quick. Like, it's not like he waited like 5, 6, 7 years for it to come. It was there in like 2 years. In like 2 years, they were contenders. Like, after they drafted him, and then by like the third year of him being there, they were a serious threat. You know what I mean?
And I'm not like a super LeBron stan or whatever, but people got to understand, he didn't really come into a situation where it was an organization there that was ready to win. At least make the moves to win. Like Isaiah did with the Pistons. Like, the Pistons were ready to compete from every standpoint, from the GM to the head coach. It's a team game. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so people who are talented like John Wall and even Damian Lillard, I think he deals with that too. These guys are great talents, but they're just not with organizations that have the best things in play. And it reflects on their legacy more so than the organization's legacy, which I think is unfair.
We watched it happen down here with Dominique in his prime.
Yeah. I mean, and that team was contending, though. Even though they had holes, they just weren't as good as that Celtic and, Pistons team.
Those other teams had multiple Hall of Famers on them. He was one Hall of Famer.
No,
and so what happened was the playoffs came around. It's like, well, this team has 3, 4 Hall of Famers. This team has 3, 4 Hall of Famers. That team has Michael Jordan and Scotty Pippen.
Mm-hmm. Right. Jay Short with the super chat says, my bad if I missed it, but you guys reviewed Big Pooh yet? Top 10 contender this year. Pleasantly surprised. Now, we definitely got to check that, man. We haven't reviewed it yet.
I did check it out. If we get a chance, we'll talk about it on Friday. I enjoyed it too.
You enjoyed it too? Okay. Deontay Smith with the super chat says, as a DC native, the Wizards are my team. But I'll be honest, our ownership did Wall and Bill a disservice because they were so cheap. And not to mention, you guys' management lied to Michael Jordan about ownership too. Let the record show. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, been listening for months and just started chatting in. Appreciate the love. Thanks for being so thorough and knowledgeable on hip-hop and preserving the culture in real time. Best duo ever. Appreciate that.
Mike and Scotty.
Right. I am Simon says, Sixers wasted Iverson's prime. They went to the finals, though. No, I mean, I hear what he's saying, but they at least went to the finals. Not everybody could say that. T-Mac didn't go to the finals.
I mean, it's like they should have tried harder to put him with somebody. Not saying there's any, like, there should have been some KG Tim Duncan attempts to get him somebody comparable to Shaq. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you get what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, and I'm thinking in my head, I mean, I know you put some names out there, but who do you think would be the pick or the individual that the Sixers should have went after?
I mean, there was a time where Tim Duncan was about to go to Orlando with Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill.
So
that's what I mean. I don't think Tim was going
anywhere, but
would have went for Duncan.
Yeah,
they played I mean,
but they didn't. But see, the Sixers found themselves in a situation they didn't really have much to give up.
That's not Iverson's problem, really.
It's not. That's what I'm saying. These are another. Yeah.
It's not. It's very
I mean, because
problematic.
when we're thinking about it, though, in those drafts, so they drafted Iverson number 1 in '96. What other high picks did they have, and who did they get?
You know, he was a little bit of a game changer too after his rookie year. I
Yeah.
mean, Larry Hughes. Did they draft Larry Hughes?
I feel like they drafted Larry Hughes.
That would be the problem. Right
I
there.
think so too, and I think Larry Hughes is a hell of a basketball player. But I think that's drafting the same guy.
Kobe and Chip.
Well, not the same guy, but you know what I mean, same position type thing. I remember in Atlanta, and I know you remember this too.
Even
When
though
Atlanta
Iverson and
just
Rasheed in the locker room, no, Iverson and Rasheed in the locker room together, that wouldn't work. Never mind, scratch that. Forget I said that.
imagine. I mean, not imagine. Remember when the Hawks just kept drafting small forwards, and it was like
Marvin Williams.
it was Marvin Williams over Darren Williams and Chris Paul. By the way,
That must
Marvin
be better.
Williams was the sixth man in North Carolina, and before that, they had already drafted Josh Childress, had Josh Smith. I'm like, how many small forwards do we need?
Gerald Johnson's a 6'8" shooting guard who can play small forward if you need him to.
Didn't understand it. L Boog with the super chat says, I really enjoyed Monday's Patreon show. Sucks that I couldn't catch it live, but it's dope to be able to vibe to the music while it's being played. I agree. Appreciate the love on that too. Check out the
we're gonna talk about the Monday
Patreon
show a
show.
little
I need
bit.
to pin the Patreon show to the top of this chat too. But yeah, it's really dope to be able to go through the music and really break down the review. And honestly, after our show Monday, you were completely right about this JID album and some of the missteps. I think if the corrections that you put out there on our show Monday would have been put in play, this is a real album of the year contender. And it's not that those songs were bad. It's just, sometimes you got to trim the fat. They didn't do a great job of that part of it.
And I told you, like the criticism, it's not like it was like multiple criticism. There was like about 3 or 4 things, It's like 3 or 4 things they could have done. And you see that song that I tweeted you, you seen what I sent you?
I think I did see it. I didn't click it.
Oh, you should have clicked that. I mean, so what was supposed to be the ending to the album didn't get clear because of sample issues, okay?
I read that, but I didn't hear the song.
Right. Now
Okay.
listen to that record. Oh, that alone would have changed the score of the album and trims that last song off that we talked about. But here's what happened, and this is what I mean about how you keep going. He's telling you pretty much the story of how he ended up rapping. Like he's telling in detail what happened at Hampton. You know what I'm saying? And what led him back to Atlanta and all the like he's breaking it down, and it's beautiful. And it's beautiful enough that if that sample doesn't clear, you know what you really do, Mike? Go get another one to clear.
Exactly.
Or you put it over a different beat. The
'Cause
game
it
had
sounds
to
like-
happen.
Why did he scrap the whole concept then? Did they
I
say
don't
anything
know
about
because it's
that?
one of the best records on there. Actually, if it goes on there, and you remember you remember the original version of the documentary 2.5?
Yes.
Okay, so he samples Rocket Love off Stevie Wonder's Hotter Than July on Magnus Carlsen to start off to 2.5 where Anderson .Paak is singing. Lay out a bandana, and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's originally to the Rocket Love beat, but the sample isn't clear. So they had to go back and repackage it all over again and re-release it. The original version has the Rocket Love sample.
I want to know. I want to know why they chose.
You get what I'm saying? They
yeah.
still re-released it over a different track. You know what I'm saying? Now it's not as good because well, damn it, they took the Rocket Love beat.
Right.
You feel me?
But
That's
I
part of
want to
what
know why
they
they
took
didn't
the
just
Rocket
put it
Love
to
beat.
another beat. I want to know why they didn't just put it to another beat. I don't know. Man,
That's what
with
I
the
mean.
super
I don't
chat.
understand why they just didn't put it to another beat.
Man,
There's
with
plenty
the-
of soulful beats out there.
Yeah. Man with
Yeah.
the super chat says, do y'all think Braun would have won without a super team? I'm going to answer that. Justin Jones with the super chat also says, what are your thoughts on KD3's possibility of having to wait until November, December to drop since he just started his tour? Are y'all going to be at the ATL show in September? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got to check on that and get there.
We probably should be there.
Yeah, we got to be there. As far as LeBron and the super team, I think he won with that Cleveland team. I think that says it all. That Cleveland team, I don't consider the Cleveland team with him and Kyrie and a limit. And when I say limited Kevin Love, he's just Kevin Love on paper, right? Kevin Love's pretty much just another guy out there on that team. And I think
Borderline all-star on that team.
Borderline all-star, maybe. And I think
all-star.
with that victory over that 73-9 Golden State team, you can't doubt LeBron or discredit his career on any level with that one out there.
Now
I think that's one of the best championships ever won.
Now I'm a Duke fan, and I haven't been so kind to Kyrie because I've been following Kyrie for a long time, so I really don't want to hear that shit. But what I will tell you, he is the most mercurial talent maybe ever at his position. And you have to understand, when he's on fire, it is like top tier, A1, Hall of Fame level on fire. And that's who Kyrie was when they were down 3-1-2. Keep in mind, he scored 40 with LeBron, which had never happened before. Mike and Scotty got close in the 93 finals. I think Scotty ended up with a triple-double and like 38 or 39 points. They got close, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Pete Kyrie is like Scotty, but offensively beyond Scotty. Like, in terms of like having that wingman, if that's LeBron, it's like, no. Just like Mike needed Scotty, it's like, no, you need that top tier wingman. And in that series in particular, Kyrie was as top tier of a right hand as I ever seen. And he did hit the game winning shot.
He did. DJ Tim Space King with the super chat says, I was listening to DJ Quick's album today, and Balance and Opinions, I'm sorry.
Balance and Options.
Yeah, Balance and Options. I'm tripping. Balance and Options, Quick Groove 4 is my favorite, I think. He's better than Dr. Dre to me. Man, we got to have
another. I love Quick's beats. Yeah. Big fan of Quick.
We got to have a Dr. Dre discussion again, too. Our man with the super chat says, peace. Cooper, you going to check out the Quantum Leap reboot?
I've been seeing the Quantum Leap reboot. Of course I am.
Jay Short with the super chat says, I feel like Wall was one of the first athletes where fans started pocket watching dudes' contracts. He was critiqued heavily for his play where it was a joke with Chandler Parsons, who didn't play. Yeah. Yeah.
Facts.
Forgot about Chandler Parsons. Yo, I also...
rightfully so.
Yeah,
That's what John Wall was speaking to, pretty much.
Exactly.
Right.
I was going to say, man, I posted, I want to say yesterday or the day before, I just wanted to remind people that Eminem's terrified of the game.
Is that where we are on the show?
I mean, I would be remiss to say so. I mean, because it's like, look, with anybody else, if there was a battle rap record out there that's 3 weeks old, we would be like, where's the response? Where's the response? But for whatever reason, we let Slim Shady get away with this. The real Slim Shady, that is. And I have nothing else to deduce from this other than the fact that Eminem is terrified of getting into a war of words with the game. I don't want to hear him being the bigger man, Fallon. He's never been the bigger man in any situation. I never want to hear that notion that, nobody wanted with Eminem. Why ain't nobody ever come with Eminem? Well, here it is. Nothing. Silence. Just like I predicted. He's not going to respond. But what I'm going to do in this situation, I'm going to dead that whole talk that nobody ever wants it with Eminem. That talk is done. So every show that we don't get an Eminem diss record, I'm going to acknowledge this. I'm gonna give it at least to, what is it? We about to be in September. I'm going to give it to October. You know what I'm saying? But every show, I'm going to remind you guys, Slim Shady is terrified of the game. The real Slim Shady, that is. I got to clarify.
Okay. I want everybody to know the way this show goes is that Mike and I really just talk about what our starting topic is, and then we freestyle all of our transitions because we just feel like it's more natural. Totally wasn't ready for that transition, though. Like you wild.
People talking about he shouldn't respond. Why shouldn't he respond? He responded to fucking MGK. So y'all really gonna sit here and put MGK over the game? Alright, is that what we doing? We gonna say that MGK is over the game? Come on, man.
I'm going to entertain this, and then we're going to transition somewhere else.
Okay. Yeah,
I've already told you that I feel like Game is a reputable and respectable enough MC. If he's dope enough that Nas does all these records with him, and that JayZ is taking shots at him, that means he's nice.
I mean, he sold so many records. If you want to go to the selling point, he has classic albums. He has hits. He's been in the game, no pun intended, nearly 20 years. Extremely active. He's always somewhere in the album of the year discussions. He's been consistent with his shit. Honestly, and you know me, I'm a 50 fan, or I like 50's music. His catalog has surpassed 50 Cent. So on what level are people saying...
a while ago.
Yeah. On what level are people saying that he's not worthy of a response from the almighty Slim Shady? Come on, man.
Probably 50's fans and Eminem fans.
He would lose. He's not responding. I'm going to be clear. He's not responding to this record because he would lose.
It's very problematic.
It is what it is. DJ Bruce Almighty with the super chat says, the super team talk is crazy. Who won alone? Nobody. It's a team sport.
I was just watching. This is how vicious Larry Bird was. Kevin McHale set the Celtics record of 56 points. And went out with a few minutes left, and Bird was talking shit to him, like, because they were competitive with each other. Like, I don't think you understand. Yeah. Kevin McHale was good enough that he could talk shit to and with Larry Bird. You know what I'm saying? Even though they played together. Like, Mike, Larry Bird literally went out against the Hawks, like, a couple nights later, is when Larry Bird got 60 points. You know what I mean? Like, those were the type of players that played together in the 80s on the Celtics teams that everybody reveres so much. It's like, no, they had two guys that in their prime could go get 60.
I mean, let's look at it like
scored
this.
56 points and left with a few minutes left. Larry Bird was down here calling shots on Dominique and the whole team.
Let's look at it like this, Coop. In the 80s, you had Bird,
without the three,
Parrish, Dennis Johnson. And then on the Lakers side, you had Kareem, Magic, Worthy. All these guys are number one picks, by the way. You know what I'm saying? All of these guys are number one
Hall of Famers too, Mike.
Yeah, straight up. These are the teams. These are the teams that won championships. Then you move on to the 90s. You got Jordan and Pippen, possibly the most famed duo ever, right? And then after these guys, you got David Robinson and Tim Duncan. And then you got Tim Duncan, Parker, Ginobili, right? Then you got Kobe and Shaq. Like, nobody wins alone. It doesn't happen that way. And you don't even have, I think the closest we've seen to a super talent and somebody who might have been viewed as lesser than, which I think is unfair, is Scottie Pippen and Jordan. Jordan has kind of put this notion out there for people just because of how transformative he was for the game as an individual and as a brand, and everything that he did. He gives that notion to people that he won alone, that he didn't win alone.
Hold on.
And I mean, even if you look at Last Dance,
an animal, man.
Honestly, at the time, there weren't small forwards that were, built physically like Scotty and had the physical abilities that Scotty had.
They weren't fast enough and long enough to guard Magic.
No.
When it mattered.
No.
Consistently. Play after play.
No. TJ with the super chat says on the Joe Budden.
Like that.
He said on the Joe Budden podcast they felt Tupac would beat Biggie and Nas in the verses, but felt Jay would beat them all. Any thoughts? I don't think JayZ would beat Tupac in the verses. Now I can understand people saying that Tupac could beat Big and Nas. I can see that, but if Pac plays Dear Mama, what Jay got for that?
I'm about to say if he's beating Big and Nas, guess who else he's beating too? That's how that goes.
Exactly. Because I really want to see on paper though how people think that Jay would beat Tupac in the verses.
I want to know how people think he could. We ain't got past it. Can he beat Big or Nas though? Like how do we get the Pac? Like that's like how we get there? Because I told you, Pac's like the real problem out here. Because his songs hit you in a way, in a manner that it's hard to say. It's like, that song's better. It's like, but is it though? Like, what if Pac like hit you with all like his real shit? Like, what if he really played like Brenda's Got a Baby, Pour Out a Little Liquor, Dear Mama, Temptations, So Many Tears,
or a mega
Ambitious
hit
as
like
a Rider, No More Pain, I Ain't Mad at You. Like,
those are the fan favorites. But what if he goes super commercial on some California Love? What Jay got for California Love for real? You gonna play Give It To Me? That ain't gonna do it. Yeah.
Keep Your Head Up.
Shed So Many Tears. Like,
these are monsters.
I think the thing is with Jay, his biggest, I guess, most definitive winning records would be like You Don't Know, or possibly Public Service Announcement.
See, this is what I'm saying. So imagine it's like if he plays like one of those records and then like California Love drops.
Exactly. Did you watch that Murder Inc. documentary yet? No?
I watched some.
Okay. Well, I was going to say
it hasn't told me too much that I wasn't already familiar with, but that's just because I'm like, you know, I'm a crackhead. Not just a regular head, I'm a crackhead. Like Tyrone Biggums on my rap shit. Like, yeah. So
that's what I was going to say, though, man. I think that people get the notion and the narrative when it comes to Volume 2 that the song Hard Not Life is the record that sold that album. From my memory, and correct me if I'm wrong, Can I Get Her sold that album.
It did. Rush Hour soundtrack.
Can I Get Her sold that album. Like, for the people out there in the audience, Volume 1 is JayZ's highest selling album to date. Hard Knock Life didn't do that.
You said one. Volume
I meant
2.
to say Volume 2. I'm sorry. Yeah. Volume 2 is his highest selling album to date. Hard Knock Life, the song, didn't do that. Can I Get Her did that. I remember thinking when Can I Get Her came out, I was like, yo, I don't think I've heard a song this much on the radio ever. Like, that song was getting played crazy.
I don't recall as a teenager a song that was in heavier rotation during the summertime.
Because I feel like even though Ain't No Nigga was a song played on the radio, I feel like Can I Get Her was his first real hit. Like,
because Ain't No Nigga was more of like a call-in hit. Yeah. Like a countdown hit. It's like the streets kind of loved it and wanted him to win, so you found it on its countdowns. It really wasn't big outside of the countdowns in terms of the rotation.
Because in 96 you had California Loves out there. Yeah. Because in 96 you had California Loves out there. If I Ruled the World's out there. You had Fuji, not Fuji La, but Ready or Not and stuff like that.
Ready or Not, Fuji La was out there. Yeah.
Jay Short with the super chat says Hakeem won alone in 94.
That's my guy. That's my guy. That's the guy. That's the guy.
DJ Bruce Almighty said the Bulls team had like 6 Hall of Famers. LOL.
Okay, so if we're talking,
they really did. If you count the GM, you count Phil. Yeah, they literally had 5. I know we're not really counting Steve Kerr, but technically, yes, Steve Kerr too.
So, I mean, who other than Mike is as offensively supreme and defensively supreme as Hakeem is? Both sides. Because people always bring up both sides of the court, right?
Yeah.
That's why I keep telling people he's a top 10 player because, well, he's one of the 5 best offensive centers ever, but he's the best defensive center ever and maybe the greatest defensive player ever.
You're right. I mean,
so the greatest defensive player ever can go get you 25 to 35 in like 5 blocks too?
I don't think anybody's going to catch Hakeem in blocks.
Oh, we do?
And I don't think there's going to be a center to catch him in steals either. J-Dub with the super chat says, can we talk one podcast about the demise of hip-hop groups? I understand the economics behind it, but I think overall that the quality of music has suffered. Yeah, I always thought that making music's a team effort. I think that groups make better music. But see, y'all don't appreciate the Migos. Should appreciated the Migos while they were here.
You want to know what I really thought, though? You want to know what, though? Egos are still getting in the way because the truth of the matter is that if there are hip-hop groups out there, technically those hip-hop groups should be winning Album of the Year every year because it's a group. So it's like, and so albums, even the albums that feel like group efforts, even though it may have the feel of the artist, tend to be your albums of the year. So And it's rare that a solo artist really takes it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at it, it's like even the albums that are like we picked Pray for Paris over Alfredo From a King to a God.
Yeah.
It's like, it's more features though too. Like I was listening to $500 Ounces the other day with Gibbs and Rock on there. I was thinking, well, damn, I was like, he got Gibbs on here, he got Rock on here, he got Wale on here, he got Tyler on here, he got Joey on here. Of course, you know, Benny and Conway's on there. Of course, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's put together so well. It's very Purple Tape-ish. It's like you got the Purple Tape, you got the Infamous, you got Into the Wu-Tang. Even some of those Tribe albums feel like, you know, like those Tribe albums, the Low End Theory, Midnight Marauders, that's a group. We were talking, we were having the whole Daylight conversation that we were about to get into, you know?
Yeah.
Like those, if you even look at my list, the list that I make, most of the albums are group albums or albums that's coming out of a group. Liquid Swords.
Yeah.
Supreme Clientele. Purple Tape.
Honestly, man, that's why it's not even really fair to put group albums up against solo efforts, because you can hear a difference between a Tribe album, a Cast album, and a Public Enemy album versus
what do you do about
any
WuTang
solo
Clan?
artist. What do I feel
What do
about
you do
WuTang?
about WuTang Clan?
I think WuTang is, I think it's impressive for the, well, first of all, there's not a group where you have that many members that rap on that level, right? That's number one. But number two, I think it's impressive how they're able to segment individuals into songs. And I don't know if we've ever really gotten the formula of how they figure out to put who on what.
No, I mean, I think that might be where RZA really does need to get more credit. But even their thought processes, like I was listening to Cream today. It came on while I was taking Sade to work. And I was thinking to myself, you know, the incarcerated Scarfaces thing comes from Deck's verse. And I'm thinking to myself, was Ray in the Yo listening to Cream when he came up with incarcerated Scarfaces? Because that's not his bar.
Yeah.
What are these guys doing? It sounds like magic. Like as a grown man still, I'm still like asking myself questions while I'm listening to Cream. It's like, is that why Ray made it? Like, was Ray listening to Deck's verse and like, yo, Deck sound ill on here, and taking that incarcerated Scarface's line? Because it said backwards, you know, Scarface, incarcerated, Basin, going upstate, my destination.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
It's like, is he taking that and freaking, like, that's what I mean. Like, so how do you parse out their stuff when it's like, well, that's my man, so I'm going to take his bar and I'm literally going to flip it and turn it around and turn it into the best solo record that I ever did.
You know,
it's some Wu-Tang shit.
It is. I know when the Dungeon Family was putting together their compilation album, they said they had like a sign-up sheet for like who was going to be on what song, and they had people sign up for whatever song they were going to be on. At least I remember them telling that story in an article when that album was coming out. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a feel, because you feel like you got 9 members in that group that can rhyme crazy, and they hear a beat like Cream. How do only 2 of them get on it? And how does the guy who is the most charismatic and the star of the group just end up on the hook?
No, that's what's beautiful about that record is I think the guys who needed to. Okay, so I've always been a big Styles make fights, and so that beat is heavy and moody and brooding. You know what I'm saying? And so you want somebody vocally to pierce through that vocally. In my estimation, like my ear is telling me if the beat is heavy, and because I think the hook was made before the lyrics were, and so I'm thinking the depth and the baritone of Meth's voice, the depth and the heaviness of the beat, how haunting it sounds. You want the voices that are going to pierce through it. Well, the 3 most piercing voices in the Clan are Ray, Ghost, and Inspector.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying in terms of like when you hear them. Ray comes off so brilliant on this track. Like when I grew up on the crump, it sounds like he's supposed to rap to that beat. That's where RZA's a genius, because it's like, no, he probably heard that and knew that. And then it's like Deck, no, vocally they're the guys for the track. That's part of why it's one of the best hip hop records ever. It makes sense to hear them and just them on that track with Meth on that hook. It's beautiful. It's teamwork. It's when it's running the triangle offense with Rodman and Scotty and Mike.
Like you said, I mean, I think that's where we really got to give RZA all kind of props, because there's not other producers that have had to deal with having that much talent and telling out of those 9 guys, no, we just need you 2 for this record. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure all of those guys have.
On the first album.
And let's just say hypothetically, and I've never heard this theory, but let's just say, because if I was RZA, this probably be my process. I'd be like, look, all of y'all write a verse to it. I'm picking the best two. Let's just say hypothetically that was the process.
You be there all
Even
day.
that's great.
You be there all day.
Yeah.
How you gonna do that? It's WuTang Clan.
Yeah.
See, he couldn't do that. It's WuTang Clan. You're gonna be there all fucking night trying to figure out who's got the best rhyme.
Right. Or who has the most
fight.
fitting.
They're gonna end up fighting each other if you do that.
Yeah. Jermaine Young with the super chat says 76ers, screwed up Larry Hughes instead of Dirk or Paul Pierce. Oh, okay. So they drafted Larry Hughes over Dirk or Paul Pierce. That was the draft for him, which would have prolonged AI's career, and he would have won a ring or two.
Ooh.
Yeah,
There
that's
we
a
go,
big
Dirk.
misstep. There we go. Thank you.
Drafted Dirk. There we go.
Thank you,
AI
Jermaine Young. See, there's always those situations, and when those organizations get those things right, then we end up saying, oh, such and such got however many rings. But if you look at all of the great talent, especially the number one picks that were rightfully number one picks, we can go through any of those drafts and find situations like that.
But listen, Dirk is literally tall enough and big enough of an offensive threat and a talent that his Iverson wanes. He's be willing to give him the ball. Like, Dirk is that good. You get what I'm saying? That's what I mean. Dirk's a first ballot. Like, a lot of people think Dirk is better than KG. I don't agree with that. But that's the caliber of player he is. Iverson needed somebody like that. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I don't think Iverson had a problem with passing the ball. I think that he just didn't get the personnel for somebody that, was contrast to the way he played, i.e., didn't need another guard. If he had a big forward, power forward, or a center to get the ball to that was offensive, he would have done that. He always talked about wishing that he played
before the knee injuries. How about that? Like Iverson and Webber before Webber's injuries. You feel me?
Right. Well, he's always talked about wishing that he played with Shaq, or he's alluded to that.
I mean, so in that era, and I don't even feel this way about McGrady, but there was like a 3 or 4 year period where I felt like you could have swapped Iverson and Kobe and gotten the same results. Definitely.
I agree. Oh, no. You're talking about the first couple of championships with LA?
Yeah, the first two for certain.
Oh,
the
definitely.
First two, if you can swap Kobe and Iverson, it's the same thing.
No question. I would even go a step further, man. I feel like if they would have still had Eddie Jones at shooting guard, they would have three-peat. Shaq was unstoppable. You went through the stats in one of our shows. It is what it is.
You don't want no smoke. People don't understand. It's like the people that I saw play that it's like were clearly better than everybody else were Michael Jordan, Shaq, and Hakeem. Like those three guys specifically, like just better than everybody else when they were at their best. Hakeem, man, you saw what Hakeem did to David Robinson and Shaq, man. You saw that. We lived that. Don't act like the people be acting like that. No, that happened.
And you know what? Hakeem did that on.
Those are top 25 players that he undressed.
Yeah. And Hakeem did that on talent.
And Patrick Ewing actually played him better than those two did. That was what was crazy about that. Patrick played better against Hakeem than David Robinson and Shaq did. But he lost too. Just like they did.
DJ Tim Space King said Ja Rule's first album is my favorite. All right. Yeah, I mean, look, I rock with the first album. I think that a lot of people did. But what I will say about the second album and the third album, he carved his own niche. And I think that with the first album, he was in DMX's shadow, and obviously he was already associated in that way. But just the way that DMX approaches his rhymes, Ja approached them in a similar way on that first album. And I just remember when, that album came out, we loved Holla Holla. We were like, man, he kind of like a miniature X. And he had, Drag On out there,
And he did 1.3 still.
Yeah. Holla Holla was big.
Yeah, it's not like it did bad.
But he wasn't Mr. 106 in Park. Because if you take Bow Wow away, Ja Rule ran 106 in Park.
Yeah. I mean, he still really, he actually really ran 106 in Park because he was respected as an MC. You know what I'm saying? In a way that Bow Wow wasn't. Just, all respect due. You know what I'm saying?
He had the hits, though. You know what I mean? Like, Put It On Me, again, it's another one of them songs. I remember when it was on the radio, I was like, I don't think I've heard a song played this many times. Once again, another Ja Rule record.
You want to hear a quick story?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I met him when his first album came out. Him and Bleak were on tour together. They came to Manifest in Charlotte. I told you I met everybody. I told you I've been doing this since I was a teenager. So they pop up. I told you I'm the hip hop guy. So every time somebody's coming in, I'm working because I'm the one that has to deal with them, walk them around, all that. I've been doing this since I was young. That's how I know who they are. Like, because I dealt with them as a young man, and it's like when you're the guy working in the record store, Mike. When you're the young kid working in the record store, you know what I'm saying? They don't know who you are. They don't give a fuck who you are, and so you get to see who they really are. Like, Lil C's came in a couple weeks later, about the coolest motherfucker I ever met. You know what I'm saying? But so me and my man Wayne, Ja Rule and Memphis Bleek are at back in the signing area. People are coming in to do the signing. They're performing at like the Charlotte's version of Summer Jam. And my man Wayne's like, because, you know, we're rhyming by now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Wayne's like, hey, y'all want to go to the back and blow one in Cypher? You know what I'm saying? Ja Rule is like, I can't for my voice. I got to keep my voice right for the show. He literally told us this and pointed to his voice. He's like, yeah, he's like, I've been drinking. He told us this. He's like, I've been drinking tea all morning. Make sure my voice right for the show. I can't do it. We went to the show. He had an 8-minute set. Now, here was the other part of the story. Bleak was ready to go, but Bleak wasn't popping even like Ja Rule was. None of the team moved until Ja Rule was ready to go. And I remember Bleak catching an attitude because of that. Because by the time he pulled up, he was platinum. So it was a platinum artist coming in the building.
Mm.
Right. So he pulled the whole my voice and the whole T thing. And Bleak was like, yo, I'm ready to go. Niggas was still like asking me like, and here's what's funny. I didn't realize this. You have to understand. It was like, this is the late 90s. So it's still like wartime. So cats is literally asking me like, how's Machiavelli? Like, how's the Machiavelli? Like, he still hadn't heard it.
Mm.
These are New York dudes, you know what I'm saying? So they not listening to certain stuff. They like, yo, what's that? How's that? Like not Bleak and Ja Rule, because they know everything. But the niggas they with, the team,
they
like, yo, who
still
this?
didn't listen to Pac, huh?
Right, no.
Like
I remember Ja
2,
Rule
3
picking
years
up
later.
another copy of Machiavelli, and niggas looking at him. He's like, nah, I need this.
Mm.
You know, so
the
he was
super
a Pac
chat
fan too, because he bought a copy of Machiavelli while he was at Manifest.
Oh, wow. The Carlo with the super chat says, do y'all think hip hop was better when it had groups? Yes.
Yes. Oh, you want to know what happened? Lil C's came in. That's how I got plugged to the Quiet Storm remix. But Ja Rule and Bleak was clowning Lil C's album cover.
That album
and my
cover
man
was
Wayne
crazy.
and my man, listen. Wayne told C's, and C's had Ja Rule's album in his hand and literally flung the shit from like through the store when Wayne told him. Because you remember the cover?
Yeah.
Where he was like,
yeah.
Right. And so Bleak and the crew and Ja Rule and them was clowning, and Wayne, because they didn't cipher with us. The next week when C's came in, Wayne was like, yo, them niggas was clowning your album cover when they was in here last week. He took Ja Rule's CD and he flung it. I was like, nigga, why'd you say that to him?
Jay Short with the super chat says, Deck or Thought? Be honest, Mike. I got to go with Thought. And I love Deck.
That's Thought, yeah.
J Dub with the super chat says, you guys have spoken on it before. Hard for one MC to carry an album. That's why groups have a better chance of making a classic, in my opinion. Yes. And see, and I think when we talk about, you know, giving credence to the groups and all of that, that's exactly why we say that we can't give Outkast's whole legacy to Andre 3000 as an individual. It's not fair. Groups have all kinds of input. We can't treat Andre like he is his own entity. We can for his stuff, but not for the Outkast stuff. It's just not fair. Let's see. Do I got all the super chats? Go ahead.
It's really... Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just seeing if I got
all the super chats. It's
really
giving me some real thought to the fact that it's like we might need to separate the album list by group and by solo artists. That changes things. Like, think about it. It's like, and then we need to parse out, well, what is a group? Because what does that do for Eric B and Rakim? You know?
What does that do for the Roots?
What does that do for Gangstar? Like, I was thinking about Gangstar.
But Gangstar,
I was listening to Moment of Truth today, and it's like, well, And you know how I feel, Mike. There are very, 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 very few rap albums that I think are classic that have more than 15 actual songs. Like, damn all the skits and interludes and all that. I'm talking about 15 songs. That is a classic rap album with well over 15 songs. And I was going through trying to find the song that wasn't good today. And I think like I found one out of like 19. And I was just like, you want to know what? This is probably better than It's Dark and Hell is Hot and Reasonable Doubt when I listen to it. Like when I listen to it now, and it's like, this is what I mean about the personality and the charisma and the voice of hip hop and the ethos mattering so much, because it's like when I was listening to the beats and the rhymes, even the stuff that Guru's saying on Royalty, it's like, man, there is nothing motivational, aspirational, or uplifting, which is part of what hip hop was built to be. It's meant to take the angst and uplift. That's not on Reasonable Doubt or It's Dark and Hell is Hot. And I love both of those albums from beginning to end. But it's like, I was thinking to myself, were the beats better beginning to end on It's Dark and Hell is Hot? Or Reasonable Doubt like they are The Moment of Truth? It's like, no. And it's like, well, are the rhymes? It's like, well, yeah, because it's the artist. And that's where the MC kind of runs things now.
Well, I think for As Dark as Hell and Hell is Hot, that's an album that has so much personality. And I think that's an album that kind of it was groundbreaking for its time in the sense where it literally changed the game. It's a game changer. And it's a game changer in a sense where it didn't do anything to conform on a mainstream level to actually take over. You know what I mean? I think there's a part on that Murder Inc. documentary where Irv is telling everybody that, you know, DMX is going to do 5-6 million or whatever. And JayZ's like, how? And he's like, no disrespect. He says, how? And it just lets you know, just based on how JayZ saw what could sell records, he thought his mentality was, I'm going to do what's going on to sell the records. Going against the grain's not going to sell you records. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's just the way he thought in his creative process. He's a visionary in certain ways, but breaking the mold is not his thing. And we'll get to that in a second. We talk about what Dame said. But I think that's where that comes from. And I got to give DMX a lot of credit for sticking to his guns and not only, you know, telling his whole story, but actually changing the game for that time period at the same time.
No, he threw. You know, I didn't meet my pops till I was 19, but he used to see me when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? And my mother used to like clean me up and like super clean me up. And he is like, I used to just want to like throw you in the mud, is what he used to say. And that's what kind of DMX did to the game. It's like he took the game and he was like, no, this is the streets. We're getting in the mud. Yeah. And he threw everybody in the mud and forced them to get their hands dirty again. It's like, no, fuck that clean, pretty. Like, no. We're not getting any manicures on planes, Jay. We're going back to the block. There's no more manicures on planes like on Imaginary Player, Jay. Going back to the streets. You know?
To answer your question from before, though, I think what's fair is we can actually put the groups that have one MC, one primary MC, in an individual category. And that goes for the Gang Stars, that goes for the Public Enemies, that goes for the Roots, things like that. Now, as far as Eric B. and Rakim, I think that when it comes to those DJ and MC combinations, I think that we might need to do it in a way where it's like, how much of the production did the DJ add to the product? Is that fair?
I don't know how to relate that, because it's like when I listened to Moment of Truth today, and this is what I mean. And I listened to Moment of Truth, like I heard the John Wall comment like first thing this morning, like early. I don't even know if it was 8 o'clock yet. And I was listening to Moment of Truth this afternoon, and I was thinking about the mental health aspect of it. And I was like, man, Moment of Truth was getting me through a rough moment of my life. Like Guru's words were inspiring on that album. You know what I mean? Even the song titles, You Know My Steez, Work, Royalty, Above the Clouds. You know what I'm saying?
Beautiful.
What I'm Here For, Make Them Pay, Betrayal. No, I was feeling it. It was getting me through something. That's part of what makes music so powerful. That's what made DMX so powerful.
Exactly. I was gonna go there too.
That's why everybody loves X, including me. That's what I mean. Like those albums, like those two albums, they got me through that year.
Yeah.
Like mentally. Because it's like I understood where they were coming from both sides. When DMX was like doing the back and forth on Stop Being Greedy, like the light side of him and the dark side of him is like, no, I get it. I get it. It's really inside every man. Yeah. He's just being honest about it.
Inspector with the super chat says, from Columbia, Manifest was the best record store.
Oh, you've been to the Columbia store? Columbia store was the original store. That's the store. I want to say I met LL at that store. It was either Florence or Columbia. My memory ain't perfect. I was fucking 15, 16 years old.
Deontay Smith with the super chat.
16, 17, yeah.
Deontay Smith said, with the super chat says, would you guys be excited for a new solo Andre album or an Outkast project? I'm going to say Outkast. Yeah.
Outkast.
Because we're never going to get an Andre solo rap album. So, yeah, I know with an Outkast album, we're going to get a rap album. And I think if an Andre album were to come to light, we're going to get, I don't want to say a Love Below, but we're definitely not going to get anything that quality. We're going to get something around that. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on one second. DJ All Day, I know that Manifest that's in Charlotte, I opened that store. The one that's on South Boulevard, yeah, I opened that Manifest. I was the opening hip-hop guy.
Nice.
I opened the store. I was the night closing manager of the Subway 2 doors down, and when I saw a fucking record store was opening, I was like, perfect. Because we lived in the neighborhood right next to it. It's just like this little Mexican project that like you couldn't even see from the street. And so I needed somewhere where I could like walk to work and make money and also feed my family because we were broke and we were poor. So I took the job at Subway, which was minimum wage. Manifest paid me more, and they obviously put me around my first love. So it was like I literally went 2 doors down the Manifest and I opened that store.
Nice.
My mom used to have Pac-Man battles at the laundromat at the corner of that plaza and go get some Little Caesars, and me and my mom would have Pac-Man battles and she would whoop my ass in Pac-Man.
Memories. Mad Max with the super chat says, can't let Coop get away with that. DMX album was transformative. It was. Game changer.
No, I said both. It said both. It's just like when I listen to The Moment of Truth today, I'm thinking like, man, like, Mike, it's going to be hard to find an East Coast rap album that has like better beats than that album from beginning to end, because it's like 19 deep, Mike. It's 19 deep.
But that's my thing. It's like, you know, Premier is Premier, and I don't think that's fair to call Eric B and Rakim a group in the same way. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean. Gangstar and Eric B and Rakim are different to me because Primo's contribution to that group is totally different than Eric B's to me.
Yeah, and it's like they're more in line with more of a Pete Rock and CL Smooth. So maybe it's another category. You got the Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Eric B and Rakim, Cool G Rap and DJ Polo. Those things are one thing, right? And then you got the one-man groups. And I don't want to say the one-man groups. The groups with one MC, one primary MC. And I would more so put Gangstar in the Roots category. Is that fair? In the Public Enemy category.
Even though because of how the pairing and the duo is built, it feels like it should obviously belong in the Polo G Rap and Eric B and Rakim. And it was probably built in that vein. I mean, Primo moved from Texas to New York in the late 80s, got up with Guru, I believe, and they formed Gangstar like 88, 89. Mm-hmm. So it's probably definitely like DJ Polo and Cool G Rap inspired and Eric B and Rakim inspired, but it's something different, man.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Coop, who is Tretch's NBA counterpart? Because Naughty was hot as fire in the early 90s. Yeah, who would you correlate Tretch to as an NBA player?
Tim Hardaway before the injury, the UTEP two-step, the killer crossover, the guy that was literally starting over Magic Johnson in the Western Conference All-Star game and seeded it to him because of the thing. Yeah, that guy.
You know, I was thinking
Tim Hardaway, exciting, UTEP two-step. You remember that killer crossover, the first killer crossover?
I was thinking like a Mitch Richmond. I'm with the Tim Hardaway thing. Baron
Yeah,
Davis. You know,
yeah.
Baron Davis was a beast.
But I'm thinking the same time frame too, because
Yeah.
like Tretch and Tim Hardaway, that's the same year. That's the same time frame. That's that 89, 90, 90, 91, 92, 93. Like Tim Hardaway was a top 10-ish player around that time and the top 5 point guard.
I love it, man. We just kicking the shit here. Jay Short with the super chat says, super late here. Did Sex Packet make the top 100? I don't think it did. It should, maybe. I need to go back and listen to Sex Packet. They were a brilliant group.
I'm not even gonna lie. I haven't listened to Sex Packets probably since Shock G passed.
R.I.P. Shock G. You want to start talking about this Fat Joe hip hop thing?
Yeah, wherever we want to go. You know, we having fun today.
Yeah,
we said we were gonna have fun and just like spit these bars, to quote Dragon.
God did.
Spit these bars? Yes, he did.
Okay, well, the internet's in an uproar because Fat Joe went out there and proclaimed that hip hop was created, keyword created, 50-50 by Latinos and blacks, half and half.
Okay.
I think a lot of people, and I've seen many articles going out there and I guess I don't want to say taking Joe's side, but I guess kind of justifying the statement. This is what I'm going to say. I think Joe, respectfully, and again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm 63 years old from the Bronx, even though I've talked to some people who are today, just in preparation for the show. I think he misspoke because I think 50-50 in the creation process would imply that for every Disco King Mario name I gave you, you could give me somebody equal in the Latino community as far as on the creative level to that.
So, were you finished? I'm sorry.
No, I was finished. Go ahead.
I think that he misspoke. And what I hope he was trying to say, and this is what I hope he was trying to say. And, you know, it's funny. Our senior writer, Denham, will probably speak to this because her and her family are from the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
The Bronx is a big, big melting pot. I don't want to tell too much of Denham's family history because she's going to be on with us in one of these soon upcoming shows, but her family is from one of the Virgin Islands, okay? Literally, generationally speaking, like not even born here. Mm-hmm. So her generation is first generation transplants into the Bronx via the Virgin Islands by way of their parents. You get what I'm saying?
Correct.
The Bronx is full of that. New York is full of that. And what I think he is trying to express is that when I talk about hip hop being created as the expression of the inner city angst, well, the Caribbean and Latino and Jamaican and Barbadian, Bohemian, well, everybody's there in New York and in the Bronx. Like it's a melting pot area. So if he's speaking to the sphere of influence and what's going on with the melting pot, helping create some of that tension and that angst, and also inspiring and influencing in that manner, in the environmental sense, then yes. You get what I'm saying? Because the Bronx is chopped up like that. Everybody from half Panamanian, half Trini. Mike, I've been researching my family. It looks like we're from the Barbados by way of West Africa. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you shouldn't need to bust around clip Jamaica. You know, Matt and Chris, they family from Jamaica. They can speak like damn near like with that Jamaican tone, like they can flip a switch and it's like they sound like they in their transplants 2 generations removed. And so there's a lot of that going on. My hope is that he was trying to express that, because if he's trying to say that it was created 50-50, no, but the sphere of influence because of the melting pot that the Bronx and New York City is what I hope he was trying to express. I hope he was trying to express the depth of the melting pot, specifically the Bronx where hip hop was born.
Right. And I see in the chat a lot of people are saying Latinos are blacks and this and that. Let me be more specific. I think we're talking about Black Americans, right? Black
Right.
Americans, people who come out of, the lineage
But,
of slavery in America,
but
right?
that's what I mean. Okay,
So,
so this is what I mean. To be a Black American, okay? I want people to understand this. Like, to be a Black American is not something old. It's something very, very new to actually be a Black American. Like, to be here
what do you
in this
mean?
country. Like, this is what I mean. Like, very few of us are really, really from here unless we are indigenously tied to some of the Indian tribes here. You know?
That's
And so,
possibility too. On a
no,
lot
that's
of
a
levels,
possibility.
yeah.
My father's 100% Blackfoot Indian. My grandfather's 1/3 Cherokee. You
I mean,
feel
because
me?
even if you look at somebody like a Rosa Parks or Snoop Dogg, they have very, what you would say, native features.
Native features.
Yeah.
Yes.
My
No.
grandmother looks like Rosa Parks. Rest in peace.
Word.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I could see those features there, and look, and without getting too deep, I mean, there is a
You
belief
want to go there?
that many Black Americans are actually indigenous to this land, and not as many came over in the transatlantic slave trade as they say did. I
No,
mean, if you
he's
think about it economically, like if you're a slave trader, or let's just say, you want to get people in captivity to work on American land, why not get the people who can actually withstand these conditions that are already here? They already know the land. You don't have to teach them too much. You don't have to worry about losing them in passage. I mean, it is very possible that many of the people that were enslaved were already here. I think that is a very big possibility.
the possibility is there. You know, the rape of this country started with the Native Americans, not with the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but this is what I mean about how to be a Black American is real. It's almost like a mirepoix in the stew, like, you know, celery, carrots, and onion. Like, it's a lot of things. This is what I mean. So me and my cousin. My cousin has our grandmother's side of the family traced to West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I have our grandfather traced from the Barbados. You get what I'm saying? So we got Barbados and West Africa on my mom's side of the family, kind of like traced out on
Mm-hmm.
that side. You know, now somewhere on my grandfather's side, because he's 1/3 Cherokee and we're from South Carolina and North Carolina, obviously there's been some Indian ties. On my father's side, my grandfather was a Blackfoot Indian. You get what I'm saying? I haven't even got all of that unpacked yet. So to call me like a Black American, it's like, how much of a Black American am I?
Right. Well, okay, let's go to hip hop, right? And so everything the hip hop encompasses sonically, the elements, all those things, right? I don't think there were some Caribbean and Latino people involved, but all of those things scream Black American culture. Because, I mean, even like you said, it being a new thing, let's just say 1900s on, maybe late 1800s, whatever. We got jazz, we got bebop, you know what I'm saying, gospel. And we all know that, Black Americans created rock and roll, all the way to the first rock and roll record being Ike Turner. You know what I'm saying? Rocket 88. But hip hop takes from all of those elements, even if we want to go from the dancing, the b-boying. Because from what I have deduced in research, right, the first b-boy, you guys can look this up, a gentleman named Trixie. Larry Myers, Black American. He said he was the first b-boy. Everybody came from him. You guys can YouTube this, look this up, Google it, whatever. Now, as far as the graffiti art, I think everyone has come to the consensus that it's Cornbread out of Philly. Daryl McCray. Look him up too. He's alive and well. He's still telling his story. Mass Appeal did a great documentary on him. It's like 5 minutes, easy to breeze through. Great story.
It's a good story. I enjoyed it.
And if we want to talk about emceeing, I think that, we could go back to Pygmy. We can go back to Pygmy Markle with Here Comes the Judge. We could take it back to James Brown. We could take it back
Here comes the
to
judge up in this bitch.
yeah. I mean, you could take it back to George Clinton was rapping to an extent, but
Son.
if we want to say that Coke LaRock was the first MC technically in the hip hop sense, again, another Black American, right? DJing. I know a lot of people want to go to Cool Herc, which is understandable, but a lot of people say that DJ King Mario, another Black American, was the one that put him on, and not to mention Grandmaster Flowers, who was even before that, who actually opened up for James Brown at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx and who was the DJ. Another Black American. So, I mean, we're talking about all four elements. And I think if we're talking 50-50 shared creation credit, then we would have, you know, we would have two Latino names and two Black American names, and not four Black American names.
No, I get exactly what you were saying. I'm trying to find like the calm middle ground, because it's like, you know, that this is a little bit more funnier and hazier, but I get what you're saying. What you're saying is the perpetuators and the authors of this craft are people who are identified socially and in the caste system as Black Americans.
Exactly. And then even if you want to go to the records,
to call yourself the creator of it.
Yeah.
Like, instead of the influencer of it. See, I think we're having a creator versus influencer,
well, see, even if we want to go
an environmental conversation.
I think even if we want to go the influencer route, I don't think anybody influenced sonically what was going on hip hop wise more than James Brown. We just talked about Clyde Stubblefield being the funky drummer. There's nobody in Latino America that we can point to, or not, just Caribbean culture period, that we could point to that is their Clyde Stubblefield. Can we? No,
I mean, you know how I feel about James and Clyde Stubblefield. I feel the same way that you do. They're the real originators of hip hop. What they did, you know, pretty much is what hip hop is based on. From your pen game usually comes from what you see, Mike.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so the hip hop side of things that provides the visual aid. The visual aid used to actually, the main part obviously used to be the tagging and the graffiti. The visual aid became the creative words of the MC. And that's what I'm saying. If you're saying you helped inspire that process, well, we can't take that away, because it's like, well, if you've ever been to the Bronx or seen the Bronx or know people from the Bronx, it's like, well, damn, it's a mosh pit and a melting pot of cultures and of people. And that's what I mean about the inspiration being there. Like where these sentiments are coming from, where the angst is coming from. Mike, part of the angst of New York is all these cultures blended together that don't know each other. Like, it's beautiful, but there's angst and tension that arises because of it.
You know, and these are things that I'm learning recently, and I've been into hip hop all my life, and I've always heard hurt. You know, DJ Kool Hurt, but I'm just now learning about the people who have influenced him. Let me get to these super chats too while you're gone. The raising head with the super chat says, Freddie Fox was supposed to be in Gangstar instead of Guru. Better or worse? Whoa, hold on. So Freddie Fox was supposed to be with Eric B, and he was supposed to be in Gangstar? That's crazy. I like Freddie Fox. I think him and Premier make dope music together. Mad Max with the super chat says, being from NY, I don't know what Fat Joe means. LOL. He's talking about Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. He's talking about Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. He's just talking about the Black Hispanics in NY, especially the BX. They're right there with us in that. Understandably so, but who are the ones that created any of the elements or that were instrumental in any of the elements? Because from what I'm seeing, a lot of people are saying that, you know, the Latino community was just doing what the Black community was doing. Now, they participated, yes. Now, if you want to say early on, the participation got to a larger percentage than 10 or 20 or whatever, fine. But on a creation level, I don't think we have the proper documentation because no one's actually bringing up any names. But when it comes to Black Americans, we're able to bring up names that actually did this and that we can check off. I think that is the dichotomy that's going on here. And it's not saying that anybody wasn't there. It's just to say 50-50 on the creation level is a bit overzealous. And you have to understand, we are people, I would say as Black American people, we're starting to become protective of our cultures and the things that we've created because we've had so much stolen from us over time. And music genres, again, rock and roll, we've had everything stolen from us, so we're not going to sit there and just, you know, give credit where it may not be totally due from a creation standpoint. Participation's a whole nother
Right.
thing. Go ahead.
And so this is what I mean. Like Fat Joe probably should not have said this, and here's why. Well, he is from the Bronx and has been part of this culture so long that he knows what a tenuous subject matter the African American black community, no matter where we come from, having stuff stolen from us, what that means. You get what I'm saying? And so some of the audacity to forge the conversation is problematic, which is why I hope his intent was to say that we're more of a cultural and creative influence than a creator. Like being an influencer and being a creator on the gram are two different things. You feel what I'm saying?
Jay Short saying that Jamaica dance hall did not influence rap. That's a lie. And that is a narrative that's being put out there. Because again,
is that what we're saying now? Well, no, that's Clyde Stubblefield. That's not true.
Again, because Kool Herc would say himself that he wasn't playing.
Didn't he
no
say
Jamaica.
That he wasn't playing that stuff?
He said he wasn't playing that stuff because the people didn't want to hear that stuff. They wanted to hear James Brown. And those breaks from, again, Clyde Stubblefield, Funky Drummer. What's the record that I'm thinking? Give It Up, Turn It Loose, the live version. That I think James did at the Apollo. That was the break, the clap your hands, stomp your feet break. You know what I mean? The Jungle Groove. And those are the records. I mean, we could point to those records, and without those records, and I've said this before, without James Brown, I don't know what hip hop sounds like.
Mike, Lyrics of Fury is literally rapping to the loop to the funky drummer.
Straight up. Oh, and so is Fight the Power.
Straight up.
Yeah. Mad Max with the super chat says, and it's facts that Caribbean areas did help make it, especially Jamaicans and Latinos are there. So it's like 25% Latinos and you have others. But again, helped make who? Who helped make it? Who are the creators you're talking about? Because
so this is what I mean. It's like being in the studio. Okay. Matter of fact, I learned this from Denham's older brother, who's from the Bronx. I used to record in his younger brother's studio when I was doing my second project, which is where I got most of my buzz. He came in one day and I was recording by myself. He was like, yo, Coop, you be recording by yourself all the time? I was like, yeah, sometimes. I was like, when I'm over here. He's like, nah. He's like, you got to have your niggas around you. He's like, you got to have that environment. This is a cat from the Bronx whose family from the Virgin Islands that you know who he done ran with, that's sitting up here telling me to my face like, no, you need people around you to get that vibe, that influence. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, Fat Joe speaking to the same thing that Walt's speaking to. Then yeah, I get what he's saying. He's talking about creating, no. That's what I mean. He's talking about that sphere of that influence. When Walt pulled up that day, he didn't like the fact that I was in the booth by myself. He's like, I don't like that.
No, I like that you said that.
You need the energy.
Now,
you
if
need that flow.
You know, I like that you said that though. If you're
that's
talking
how the
about,
got made. That's how the Purple Tape got made.
I was gonna say, if you're talking about the spirit, it's like they always say Jerobi is the spirit of tribe. You know what I'm saying? But we know when it comes to the creating part of it, you need Q-tips. You need Q-tip. You know what I'm saying? But
you need that. But that's what I'm saying is that. But look at where Q-Tip is from. Look at all the spheres of influence that probably sparked that. Straight up. He could have. Think about it. He could have been on some rap shit coming from like the part of you know Queens that he's coming from. Like he coming from that real Supreme Team side of Queens. So he's probably seeing things on a hip hop and on a street level, like up close and personal. But he might have went to Harlem one day and, went to a cafe and like started getting into the jazz and we got the low end theory. You feel what I'm saying?
Well,
so
his dad collected jazz.
But the environment is there to provide that. So if you're telling me that the Latino community helped provide some of the environment, it's like, oh, without the motherfucking question.
Well, his dad collected jazz. I think his mother was from the South or something, but I think a lot of his record collecting comes from his father, who passed away, at an early age for Tip.
I'm just, I'm just giving examples of like what
you're right.
I don't know the story exactly. I'm saying the environment is set up for him to have that melting pot of cultural experiences of going on some boom bap kick to some jazz. No, New York is like that. It's flexible like that. It's part of what makes it the mecca of hip hop is that flexibility and all of those cultures blending together. But yeah, people of color who are called black created it.
Yeah, and it was created from a lot of the elements that, Black Americans had already put together from even the influence of b-boying that traces back to like the 30s, 40s, and even in recent time for them, James Brown, right? I think it was Crazy Legs that said their whole thing with b-boying was to emulate what James Brown was doing. So boom, that's there. Obviously, what Cornbread did with graffiti, that's kind of like, standalone. That's what it is. But even when you look to the music and what the DJs were doing with the loops and breaks, this is a funk beats, funk breaks, James Brown records. Without those records, do we have the park jams? So we can't forget the records that they pulled them from. And I say this respectfully, it would be a whole different thing if they were pulling from dance hall records and records from the Caribbean that started this. That would be a whole different thing. It'd be a whole different discussion, but that's not the reality. NDU Jam says, even Madlib has the native features. Black people were moving and hanging in gangs back then. There's no way Puerto Ricans and Latinos could have been in the same parties as Black Americans. Well, gang culture is a whole different thing. You might be right. I've heard those stories too. Jay Short with the super chat says, Mike and Coop, if 10 years from now I said I helped create A2HH, you would come pay me a visit. We need to stop this. This is true. It's like, and that's we funny. Love and respect everybody in here, and we think that, funny. And we're going to get to this even when we talk about the Black Star thing. I think that the people and the fans and the subscribers and viewers make our show as powerful as it is, but, respectfully, we created this show. You know what I'm saying? And,
no, I love the people.
Yeah, I love the people. The participation is everything. We base our show around the participation. But I don't think that, look, I go view Star's show all the time, the Star Report. Shout out to him. He did a great show on this the other day. But I would never go to Star and be like, yo, I helped create your show. It's just because I was a viewer and a participant. It's different. Jay Short also says, the hip-hop 50th anniversary is coming up in the next year. Folks are trying to position themselves to profit off of it. Fat Joe needs to find Pun's rhyme book. Oh, yeah, hip-hop will be 50 next year. It's going to be a big blowout. We got to do something for it. Mad Max says, so then Black Americans can't claim Biggie and KRS-One then, because when you look at it, these guys' origins are not Black American, like Coop said. That's fine. I think no one ever said anything about the fact that Biggie does do things that tap into his Caribbean roots. Or KRS. I think KRS is one of the people that actually bring that to record. But we will say this, Mad Max, and just like, with Busta Rhymes saying that, Black Americans or Americans don't have a culture yet, if it weren't for the culture that was started by the Black Americans, you wouldn't have a vehicle to be Biggie, KRS-One, or Busta Rhymes. Is that fair?
No, that's fair, but this is, I hate to say it like this and just be so flat out. Like, we all been sleeping with each other and mixing and crossbreeding for a long time. I don't like having this conversation because it's divisive. In hip-hop,
I don't think it's divisive.
Hip-hop is supposed to bring us together.
Yeah.
And I don't like somebody who's a statesman like Fat Joe making a divisive comment like this. That's my real issue. It's divisive.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be divisive if everybody just gives people credit where credit's due. You know what I'm saying? It's only divisive if you don't want to be honest about it. The creators are there. The names are there.
That's what I mean. If you want to talk about influence and sphere of influence, totally fine. If you want to talk about the creators, like, the names are already there and it was written. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, unless you're going to dispute, like you said, Mike, unless you're going to literally, give me the 100% Latino for Cornbread. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, who? Give me somebody that was literally right there with Cornbread
in 1965. Doing graffiti in Philly in 1965.
Correct.
That's why
I don't like it. That's what I mean. It's too divisive. And here's the thing about it. Like, and Joe knows this. Is like, well, don't you understand? Saying that takes away from somebody like a Cornbread.
Exactly. You know what? It seems to be, and I see people in the chat saying something similar. It seems to
Hold on. I already know about Rocksteady Crew, Mike. Honey runs her dance academy up here on my side of town. My daughter was part of Honey's
But
HipHop Dance Academy.
Rocksteady Crew
The
came a
real
little.
Honey from the Rocksteady Crew lives about 20 minutes north of here. I've known her for years. My daughter was in her dance academy.
Again, the
Rocksteady Crew is
Rocksteady
like
Crew.
literally like a decade after.
I was about to say, Rocksteady Crew started around 77. They came a little later, respectfully. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So if you're starting off with Rocksteady Crew as your Latino creators, well,
they're
then
about
Mike's
7 years late.
ethos is like even more. Mike, a minimum of 7.
Yeah, minimum of 7. Yeah.
Minimum of 7. We got Cornbread tagging in 65 in Philly.
And we got Trixie doing shit in like 68 as the first B-boy. And you got Rocksteady Crew coming around in 77. Now, again, I know a lot of people get their history from like film and, you know, things like that, Wild Style and all that. And those are great culture pieces. But sometimes you got to dig a little deeper, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's out there. And again, I want to address the whole divisive thing. It's not a divisive thing, you know? It's just making sure that we document history properly. It just seems to be whenever black people want to get their credit.
Really shouldn't, like,
whenever black people want to get their credit for something, it seems to be that we're being divisive whenever we want to acknowledge something that we've done. We're not taking credit for dance hall. We're not taking credit for, you know, anything Daddy Yankee's able to do in America. We're not.
Mike, I can't find out where the fuck I came from. That's why I'm saying it's like I don't even want to have this conversation right now. It looks like my grandmother's side of the family is from West Africa on my mom's side. Looks like on my grandfather's side, on my mom's side, they came from the Barbados. On my dad's side, on my grandfather's side, I got us Blackfoot Indian. I got some Cherokee over here mixed in. I know nothing about my grandmother's side on my father's side. I don't know where the fuck I'm coming from or how long I've been here.
Have you been to family reunions?
And I'm 40.
Have you been to family reunions?
Huh?
Have you been to family reunions?
Oh, no.
Because I know I've been to family reunions on my mother's side and my mother's father's side. I haven't had any family reunions on my dad's side. But yeah, I mean, they all go back. They all go back to pretty much slavery, you know?
My dad's family is from Youngstown, okay? Like Youngstown, the type of place that when my grandmother was here on this earth, she really didn't want us coming to because, you know, it's Youngstown.
Mm-hmm.
Right. People don't go to Youngstown. They get the fuck out of Youngstown.
Yeah.
Like my dad did. Yeah. So a lot of that is like big gaps. And like the Coopers, like my mom's side, like I got a lot of the tribe figured out and stuff. It's like even the Coop, I don't even want to get into that. It's like, yeah, they be having stuff up in Charlotte. No, I don't be going.
I mean, it's good to know, you know, and it's like, I want to do even more research. I'm glad my mom's really into that. And she brought over like this family reunion packet from, I want to say it might have been like 2010 or 2005. And I was able to actually go back and see my grandmother's parents. I think my grandmother's parents were slaves.
Now, here's the thing. My pop's oral history game is the strongest oral game. Like, people be like, yo, Coop, your memory. It's like, no, I get that from my pops. Like, so his oral game history. So I know the tribe and how the tribe worked from everything that he remember and been told, but that's only taking me back to, you know, like Great Depression times. And I hold it the way he hold it. So when he tell me, I just like lock it in. So it's like, I know my dad's side of the family, but it's like, I know us as freed men. I don't know if we were here first. You know what I'm saying? Because Ohio's different. That's what I'm saying. My grandfather, Blackfoot Indian. It's like when your family comes from that part of the nation, there's a chance that you're more indigenous and have been here. Chances are, if you were from the South, you got planted here.
Yeah.
But if you're from over there, there's a chance that you were already here. And so what it looks like to me is, I believe, is that part of my family on my mom's side is from Africa and from Barbados and met in South Carolina. And that's how the Coopers exist. But my dad's side, I think we were probably here because my grandfather is an Indian.
You know
He's
what?
like, my grandfather is a high, like my oldest brother is like high yellow, light skin with green eyes.
You know what?
Yeah, and he talk like Mike Tyson. It's the funniest shit ever. He's 6'5", like 300 pounds, and he's high yellow with fucking green eyes, and it sounds like Mike Tyson when he talks, but like he'll bust your ass.
Mad Max with the super chat says, I mean, Mike, it says, I don't want to say ADT. Other groups say this about their genres of music. I never heard a Latino or Jamaican say, we help make blues or R&B. hip hop is a little different, especially if we're talking about NY hip hop. Well, again, name the creators then. I gave you the names. Is there anybody with a Grandmaster in their title before Grandmaster Flowers? Is there? Is there a DJ out there who had two turntables in the mic before Grandmaster Flowers, who were doing park jams in New York or anywhere else? The man opened up for James Brown in Yankee Stadium in 65 or 60? I think it was 65. So he was kind of a big deal. So give me some names, then debunk some of these names, and I'll be with you. And on top of that,
we're asking for evidence.
Yeah, I'm just asking for evidence. We only ask for evidence on the show about everything. Let's not make this a different thing. But yeah, I mean,
hold on. Kaya is saying my great grandmother was a Syrian who was born in Jamaica. That don't make me Syrian. It's like, no, it doesn't make you Syrian, but it means you have Syrian heritage and lineage. But I'm talking about my grandfather being 100% Blackfoot Indian. Well, that's only 2 generations removed from me.
Right.
That ain't great. That's my grandfather being 100% Indian. That would give credence to us probably of being here. You feel what I'm saying?
You know what? I want to find out.
It's not like I'm saying 4 generations ago my grandfather was 100% Indian. Well, that's damn near slavery. I'm saying literally like in the 1900s he was 100% Indian. That means we might have been here.
I see a comment from Marcus Lewis, NBA. He says only 3.6% of African slaves came to the U.S. Fact, we already were here, 100. I've heard that before. And you know what? We've been lied to so much. If there's some evidence to that, I'm with it.
I think we've been everywhere though, Mike. We're original man. So it's like, how can original man not be and spread everywhere? It's just been indigenously spread out in different and propagated in different forms. That's what I mean when I say, well, we all been sleeping together for a long time.
Yeah.
Let's not have this divisive conversation because that's what it becomes.
But again, no one's trying to take credit from anybody. We're just saying creating and participating are 2 different things. And
DJ
I think that
all day is on fire today. The Olmecs, Mike, they're literally like little Asian black-looking people. They look Filipino.
Yeah.
Literally in Central America looking Filipino.
Yeah.
Like literally like 4,000-5,000 miles away from like, yeah.
But I think 50-50 is a bit
Hannibal,
generous.
Mike. Hannibal. You want to get old school Hannibal? That's a black man.
Right.
You know why they're afraid of Hannibal? Right. You think they afraid of some damn elephants? Elephants don't hurt nobody, Mike. They ain't afraid of no damn elephants. They afraid of this nigga that don't mind marching through the motherfucking snow in elephants to come kill them. Right. They're like, this black man is crazy. This nigga's crazy. Like
somebody said Grandmaster Jose Hernandez. Y'all wild. NDU Jam says, Herc stated, hold on. He said Herc stated that he would observe the kids dancing when the break part would come on the record. And that's when he decided to make it longer. Black Americans already knew about the break beats. He observed that and, furthered that on because he knew that's what the people wanted. Us entertainers, and I guess I'm calling us entertainers as well, we tap into what the people want and we hone in on it. That's what Herc did at his party.
Hold on, Mike, this is what I mean. We've been everywhere. Mike, Attila the Hun. The Huns?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why do you think they scared of Attila the Hun and of Hannibal? It's not because it's because they didn't look like them. It's because they were black and they was out here like, no, that's our shit. And if it ain't our shit, we come to take your shit because we original man. Right. This been going on.
Yeah.
So it's like to have the American conversation about it to me is divisive because you got to start unpacking all parts of history where black men have been called different things, even though that they were black. Like, you don't know Attila the Hun is black. You don't know Hannibal is black. They try to feed it to you like it's different. They're European from different regions. No, where that nigga from? I keep trying to tell you. Peter from where? Peter was a fisherman in Syria. I don't know about you, Mike. When you get into the water all day in Syria, you know what happens to you? Darkness, motherfucker. Ain't no... What?
Mad Max says 50-50 was an exaggeration. Yes, it wasn't. And when you exaggerate about those things, you're kind of stepping on the actual work and the creation that the creators made. And I don't think that that's appreciated. I would hope that Fat Joe goes out there and recants what he said. I
He's
would
a
hope that
replicant.
Busta Rhymes even recants what he said about Black Americans not having a culture, because again, the culture that Black Americans created is the culture that you were able to make your name on. You
I'm about
know,
to
and
say, because
not to
Busta Rhymes
mention
isn't
that
a dancehall reggae artist, even though he claims to be Jamaican. It's like, well, you're an American hip hop artist.
yeah,
And
your breaking point was on the Low End Theory, which was an album that was influenced by jazz. Who made
jazz.
that? Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Cut that out.
Now,
And I love
we don't
Busta
need
Rhymes, man,
we
but
don't
I
need
don't
to break down
appreciate
who
that.
created jazz, do we?
Hmm?
Do we need to break down who created jazz?
I hope we don't.
Okay, I just hope we
I
don't.
hope we don't.
Hold on. First of all, Gray 88, Hannibal was black. And the Olmecs are, I don't care what you say. I ain't never seen no Asian people be thick like that, except for the Filipinos, who mixed with the Spanish Indians, who mixed with the black people. That's why I keep trying to say we've been everywhere. We've been everywhere.
Speaking of black, you want to talk about Black Star?
Man, you know what happens to you? Your seed gets spread and dispersed.
Yeah, you're right. Speaking of black, you want to talk about this Black Star interview
Might as well.
on Drink Champs?
We got real black up in here.
We got another super chat from what is it? Mintu Sun says most, not all, so-called Latinos are black in terms of used to group people based on who colonized them. Don't fall for the okie doke. Joe fell for it. Jay Short with the super chat says, I think Fat Joe is from the barbershop legend era. We demand receipts and a resume now. We don't believe you just because you old. It's a facts, you know. And he's old enough to give us some names, right? From the Bronx, New York, shit happens. And shout out to my man Mark, man. I talked to Mark today. I wasn't going to even have this discussion if I didn't talk to somebody who was actually there. I mean, he grew up in the building, and he wasn't really aware of, you know, all the things that are going on with this Fat Joe thing. But when I told him, he was like, what? That's ridiculous. So it ain't just Mike D from Atlanta, Georgia, that's saying this stuff. The people who are up top, who lived it and were in the building, are saying similar things. But yes, we didn't get to this Drink Champs, Black Star, and Dave Chappelle. We're on the Drink Champs. You said it was supposed to be, what, 3 hours? Because most Drink Champs
2
are
hours.
yeah, most Drink Champs are like 3.5 hours because they talk for a long time. This one was like 45 minutes. You said they cut it?
They did? To 45 minutes.
That's unfortunate. It was a good interview. It was a really good interview. Very insightful interview when it comes to the process that Yasin Bey and Talib take on. Max with the super chat says, no, Coop, we all know who made jazz. And Hannibal, my guy, hit them Italians with the elephants.
He did.
You know, was it just
Why
me?
did he do that? He's not part of the European community.
Was it just me, Coop? Or did it feel like, or does it always feel like when Talib and Yasin are together, they still feel separate?
They do. Hold on. I just want to address something right quick because people are saying Hannibal wasn't black. Hannibal's from Carthage. Carthage is in Tunisia. Where is that? I'm sorry. Let's just get it right. Let's get it right. Where the fuck is that? That's Africa, dumbass. This is what I'm talking about, how people try to mistake history. Hannibal's from Carthage. He's from Africa. It makes him African.
Well, I've heard Egyptians not call themselves African. It's crazy.
It's very problematic.
Yeah.
You won't hear that from the Ethiopians.
Yeah. C-Mac with the super chat says, first Latino rapper I remember was Third Base. First video they made, they jumped Hammer in it. Problematic. Shout out to Hammer. Hammer's one of our greats. But anyway, they feel very separate when they're even sitting at the same table. And it's almost like they're saying the same thing, but they're saying different things. Did you get that vibe? Like, what was your feedback from the Black Star Drink Champs interview? Because you hit me onto it.
First of all, Attila the Hun is from Turkey. He's
oh
a
my
Turk.
God, I knew you were on that still. We got to move on.
I was just making sure I had my history together. It's like, okay, so a Turkish man and an African man or a white man now. It's like, get the fuck out of here with that dumb shit. That's what I'm talking about. People don't read shit. But anyway, onto the Black Star interview.
What were your thoughts on
It
it
almost
after
made you. It almost made you wonder if they recorded together. Was my first thought from watching the interview. It's like, did they record this album together?
Most stuff seems, Yasin Bey seems on an island of his own in ways. And you know what? And I'm gonna say this respectfully, and
Peninsula, maybe.
I'm not trying to be problematic, but I feel like he links more with the Kanye Wests of the world than he does Talib.
I feel like he's been kind of tied to Talib, maybe even more than he would like or want to be. I think it seems.
It feels like that. And
Does it feel that way to you?
It kind of answered that whole thing that we were talking about with the album No Fear of Time, which many of you still haven't heard, where Talib feels like he's going harder than Moses. And excuse me for calling him Moses. I've been calling him that for 24 years.
I just want to start respecting, because he does really go by Yasin Bey now, and it's like even when you see his features now, it doesn't say Mos Def, it says Yasin Bey. So it's like I'm just been trying to.
I want to call him Yasin, and I'm trying to break myself of it, but creature.
No, me too. I'm struggling.
Yeah. So
because it's one of the best rap names ever too. Mos Def is one of the best rap names ever.
And that's the thing too. It's not like it's his birth name, So it's
it's one of the best creative.
Dante Smith. Yeah.
You want to know what it is? It's the definition of the brilliant being simple stupid. Facebook, Instagram, according to hip hop.
It just happened like that. But yeah, man, Yasin Bey, in my opinion, is one of the greatest talents hip hop's ever seen, right? Mm-hmm. And I just didn't feel, and as great as that No Fear of Time is, and I feel like he and Madlib are the driving force on the creative end. Talib was the MC on that album, and I feel like Yasin was still the lyricist, but he underperformed to a lot of people because of the lack of intensity. We heard a different intensity on the JID album, and looking at this Drink Champ interview kind of gave me a little bit more insight into that as well.
So I want to go to some of the things that they said. First, where do you want to start? Because
I want to start wherever you want to start, man. Wherever you felt like starting.
Let's start with some of the commentary about the album itself and the rationale about releasing it on Luminary, because I find that to be the real crux of this and the most problematic part of this, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
Now, does this system need reforming? Well, eternally.
You mean the streaming system?
Mike, every institutional system that exists in what we call America is not systemically designed for black men who are intelligent and thought-provoking and challenging to succeed. That shit is not in the handbook in America, okay? People need to stop acting like that's in the handbook. People need to understand where they are and who we really are even in 2022. Like, people still want to, slavery was only 100 and something years ago. 100 and something years ago.
And lasted for 350 something years?
My grandfather's last sibling just passed, Mike. They were born in the 20s. Mm-hmm. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
we're not that far removed from this bullshit.
Yeah.
You feel me? So systemically and institutionally, they are talking about a system that is born fundamentally broken. Mm-hmm. And here's what they are saying. This is a historical project with a historical approach. I want to quibble with that. What about this project is historical? Because the most historical part about this project is the fact that you guys took a quarter of a century to record your sophomore album.
They literally took a quarter of a century to give us a follow-up album.
Took a quarter of a century to give us a sophomore album.
Yeah. And before the Black Star fans start throwing digital stones at us, we think this is the best hip-hop album of 2022.
That ain't what the fuck we talking about.
That's not what we're talking about. Oh, Mad Max with the super chat says, the new Egyptians don't call themselves African because they're Arabs. A lot of them are North African Kents and aren't the original people of the land of the original people migrated south to the either west or central. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. But yes.
I don't know. Hey, can I tell you something?
What's up?
Tomorrow, my mother takes flight and goes to Africa on a missionary trip.
Oh, nice.
She's going to be the first Cooper to go back to Africa.
What part?
I'm not telling.
Oh, okay.
No. She's stopping off in Rwanda, and then she's going to a missionary trip in Ghana and a couple other places.
That's going to be nice.
It is. But here's what I'm saying. When you go to Egypt and you fly into Egypt, you know what continent you're flying to?
The geography doesn't matter when you've been colonized, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, where are you flying to? When you fly to Egypt, where are you flying? Because I know my mother's flying to Africa, and I'm pretty certain that Egypt is one of those countries in Africa.
It is.
Okay, so, and this is just, you know how it works, kind of like old school in Georgia, where if you've been living with somebody for 7 years, that's common law marriage. It's like, so for all those Arabs that are saying that they're Arabs, it's like, well, let me tell you something. If you've been living in Egypt for 25 years, you're 37 years old, you might as well be African. You feel what I'm saying?
That's what I would think. But hey, who am I?
I know people that have been in Atlanta for the last 15, 20 years, and I'm like, what's your team? It's like, well, I was born in such and such, but I've been down here for 20 years now. I'm a Falcons fan. It's like, because, well, you're an Atlantan now, because it's like, well, you've chosen to put your roots in this state, in this country.
Yeah. For
the last 2 decades, that makes you a native of here. What's your driver's license say? Your driver's license don't motherfucking say Spokane, Washington. Now do it. Yeah. It should say Atlanta, GA. You feel what I'm saying? You see how people try to misappropriate what's been written, what's been said, what's been stated. Egypt is a part of Africa. Yeah. Period. And forever, until this place incinerates and burns down and turns back into a ball of clay, until we all regurgitate back into our shape. Egypt is forever going to be part of Africa. If you are a resident in Egypt long enough, you are African. Yeah. That is the end of this fucking discussion. I am so tired of talking about stupid stuff.
NDU Jams with the super chat says Yassine Bey and Lauryn Hill are on the same frequency. Yes, I want to get to that too. But yes, okay. I think the execution of putting this album on the Luminary platform, I think it's very one-sided. And I think you have to kind of meet the people. Because, listen, at the end of the day, the fans make this industry. Like, there is no music industry without the fans. There is none of this without the fans, right? You have to meet people where the people are at. Me and Coop do this podcast on YouTube because this is where the people are at. This is where the people are going to listen to us talk. This is where the people are going to converse. And so we don't love the percentages that YouTube takes. You know, I'm just being real. I'm sure most people don't. But at the end of the day, we will bite that bullet for the people because we know this is the most convenient for you guys. This is not about us. And I feel like with the No Fear of Time album, it's so one-sided where Talib and Yassine were thinking more. They're not thinking about the people at all. I'm just going to be honest about it.
Okay, they're just let's get to some of the rhetoric that see, you're saying everything that they were saying. It's just, well, Mos, that's what I keep trying to tell you, man. He's a real smooth talker and a thinker. Yeah. Okay? Listen to what he's saying. If you don't, he literally, this is what they said. They said, stay where you are. As in, if you don't want to come get this project, stay where you are. It's not for you. Who says that to a fan base that hasn't heard you record in 24 years? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, these are things that Michael Jackson, Prince, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, like your instant stadium sellout artist, Madonna, Janet Jackson. You get what I'm saying? Like, your instant stadium sellout artist wouldn't make these arrogant claims. Who is Black Star to be making these claims? Stay where you are. Listen to this. We are not going to bow to make things convenient.
Listen.
These are things that are getting said during this interview. Yeah. So when people are getting on me about talking about these guys, listen to how these guys are talking about their fan base. Right. This is the fan base. You're talking to your fan base that stay where you are. We are not going to make things convenient. And this is what we are not complicating the process per se. If the machine now that exists was more amenable and fair, they likened it to legalized criminal enterprise. A prevailing metric that does not take the artist or humanity in regard. And that you have proudly made yourself a multimillionaire multiple times, off of. You were not espousing this rhetoric when you were broke.
Well, this is the part that I don't understand. And
Here we go again.
maybe
I be telling you, these dudes be.
Maybe I'm being simple-minded here. The part the part I don't understand is, okay, you don't like the system of streaming because that's what we're talking about.
Neither do we.
What prevents these guys who are this big, or I don't want to say this big, this notable, right? And have a project that people have been waiting on for 24 years. What is stopping them from actually pressing this thing up, setting up any kind of website, having fans go to it, and just delivering them vinyl or something like that? Like, what's stopping them from doing that? I don't understand that part of it. And that's the part, and I know Yassine Bey was saying, you know, we possibly got some vinyl and all that stuff coming, but why are you having people sign up for a subscription-based platform that has no other music on it to listen to your album for $4.99 a month? We're talking about $60 a year to listen to a Black Star album that is, there's no other music on it. It's just podcasts on it. So if I'm listening to my music on, you know, whatever, because I don't think you can even download it from Luminary. So if I got my playlist together, I got to go out of everything that I'm doing and go into Luminary, which I'm paying $4.99 a month for, to listen to No Fear of Time, and then go back to some other stuff. You know what I mean? I don't think JayZ could get away with that. And we're talking about the JayZ that has people talking about a subpar verse 2 weeks in a row.
I'd like to provide you with some evidence, because this is what I mean about these. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful type of way. I just mean this in an honest type of way. Like, these dudes don't be who they say that they are. Let me tell you why Moment of Truth was so inspirational. Guru was on there, and I be muddy as they get. Mud on my pants and shirt. I see you niggas out here know. I be putting in work. And yo, I'm going to be on TikTok. That's all my eyes can see. Victory is mine. Yeah, surprisingly. I've been laying, waiting for your next mistake. Listen to what he say. I put in work. Now watch my status escalate. They do not want to do the work. I'm too busy with other stuff. I'm into my faith. They not doing it themselves because they're not into putting in the work. Luminary gonna do the work for them, and it's their job to bring their audience and their base to Luminary for the shit that they sold Luminary on. Here's the problem with that. You haven't made an album in 24 years. And Mike, you and I talked about this pregame. You're not De La. De La, we ain't had, Mike, I told you, it's like, I don't know if De La's getting greater to me because I don't have access to it, or it's because they were always that great. I was like, but Mike, I'm feeling like they might have the best group catalog ever. And I said this, if De La's coming back with a new album and putting it on Luminary, and you have access to their prior catalog because of that subscription to Luminary,
I'm subscribing.
Mike, yeah, Mike, I'm subscribing. Like if I wake up and get that message, Mike, it's going to be done within 3 to 4 minutes of me getting that message.
Exactly.
You guys don't have it like that. Yeah, you don't have a De La catalog. You don't have an Outkast catalog. You don't have a Mobb Deep catalog. You don't have a Tribe Called Quest catalog. You don't even have an NWA Public Enemy catalog. You got one album that you made when cats like you and me was in high school. We're grown ass. You have a daughter in college. I have a daughter in high school.
Yeah.
That album came out when we were in high school.
It's insane when you think about it, right? Listen,
you niggas are crazy for talking this way. Like they're like talking like they're John Lennon and Paul McCartney. They're talking like John and Paul. It's like, if these niggas John and Paul, did they recreate or define a whole genre of music with their songwriting and song making capability? No.
You brought up
Neither one of these guys is even better than Black Thought to me. And I've said this, the best verse on that album is Black Thought's verse. You only have the best verse on this album.
You brought up a great point. I want to rewind real quick. If these guys were advocating for whatever De La Soul's going through with whoever owns their music at this point, because I think my last recollection, Tommy Boy, did a deal with...
my motherfucking boy.
Tommy Boy did a deal with Reservoir Media, I believe. Whatever. Anyway, if we were getting out of this deal, the De La Soul catalog on Luminary, sign me up. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, De La's put in the work all these years, and there's a whole generation, and even myself, who doesn't really have access to their catalog if you don't have the physical disc. And they're even telling you not to go get the physical disc because they're not benefiting from it. Now, I would love to see Black Thought. I mean, not Black Thought, excuse me. I would love to see Black Star in this position and on these platforms advocating for De La Soul and the situation that De La Soul is in if we don't like the system. No one has been jerked by the system in hip hop more than De La Soul. Now, Luminary or whoever needs to work out whatever deal they need to work out for that De La Soul catalog for us to have access to that, and then we'll pay the $4.99. But for us to have to pay $60 a month for just these guys follow up from a 24-year-old project, you're not looking out for the fans at all.
You get the Dave Chappelle podcast when you get the Luminary. That's obviously.
And you know, I heard, because I ain't really checked it, because when I got the subscription, I was listening to the album. That was it. I hear that the Dave Chappelle podcast is like really short.
It is. It's brief.
Yeah, it's like y'all not even giving us like no 2-3 hours worth of work. Like, come on, man.
It's not 3 hours a day. You're not gonna get 3 hours a day for $4.99 a month.
Jesus Christ.
They know what he worth.
Jay Short with the super chat says, honestly, I just can't listen to Black Star the same. Most Def, Apathy, and Talib, Kweli, bitterness towards the fans seeps through the music. You know, that's another thing, Jay Short. For somebody who goes back and forth with the fans so much, you're asking the fans to do cartwheels to listen to a follow-up that's 20-something years late. It's wild. It's wild.
It is.
It's not even somebody
I'm sorry. Like, the dope boy rappers just don't be this arrogant about their product, Mike. They don't.
They don't go back and forth with the fans either. I don't think there's any MC that goes back and forth with the fans like Talib. Like, Lupe doesn't even do that. Like, Mad Max with the super chat says, I would down get their album, but I'm not paying for that. A group that has gone my whole lifetime with 2 albums. I'm 26.
That's what I'm saying.
He's like, I'm 26. I'm gonna stay where I'm at.
I'm 26. Think about this. So they made an album literally when you were like
2 years old. Yeah.
And then now.
Yeah. And then want you to jump through hoops and pay $60 a year to listen to it.
It's the audacity in which they're framing. I'm going to say some of these comments that they get. We're reforming the system. This is an historical project with a historical approach. I'm thinking, like, what kind of cocaine is these niggas sniffing? Like, what are you sniffing? Like, is that Peruvian flake? Is that real shit? Like, we are not going to bow to make things convenient. Who are you talking to, fam? We love you guys. Like, who are you talking to? We're not going to bow to make things convenient. We are not complicating the process per se. Cool. I'm going to say all this stuff again. These are coming from rappers who people complain. No, people are talking about these guys are what hip hop needs. And I keep saying, no, hip hop does not need guys like this who misappropriate the real message and ethos of what hip-hop is supposed to be, to self-serve and feed their own mission after a 24-year hiatus. It's like a 24-year... You couldn't even fake it and make a couple albums?
He said, we are not going to bow to make things convenient.
We are not... I wrote it down, Mike. You know how I get down. We are not going to bow to make things convenient. That got said.
That is directed directly at the fans. Nobody else. That's not about the system. To your fans this way? Yeah, that's not about the system. That's not about the record labels. That's about the fans.
We're not going to bow to make things convenient. I'm like, suck it hard then.
Wow, man.
So here's how I feel. Since you don't want to bow to make things convenient, I just want to put a star by the rating of their album. Like, we're going to put all stars by it. And just talk about what it could have been. But since they don't want to bow to make it convenient, you know what I'm saying?
Now, I disagree with you on that. And, I always try to separate the art from the artist, and the music's going to stand alone. This is the artist
saying, fuck you.
I understand that. But the music stands alone. And I think
That's all the standing.
I understand that. I understand. The music stands alone. But even if the artists are on some other shit, which they clearly are right now. Now, I loved a lot of the things that Yassine Bey had to say about his time with Kanye, and we're going to get to that too. But this right
No, he
here,
said a lot of great things, and I got notes on that too. But
this
shit
right here is
here,
off base. This is totally off
Hold
base.
on.
You know,
Listen what
Kanye didn't even say this stuff when he did the little Donda 2 player. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just put that out. Whoever rock with it, rock with it. And
Right.
honestly, that right there was a transformative move. Because what this right here sounds like to me is you guys have a podcast deal with Luminary, and Luminary said, look, we're going to need some music from you guys.
Gonna do what you said
And
you're gonna do.
Luminary owns this. That's what this sounds like to me. Now, I could be wrong, but I wasn't wrong about the verses thing. We're going to get to that too.
I'm about to say, we actually need to wrap this up and get to the good comments and then get to that. But here's what I'm saying. You're calling it a legalized criminal enterprise? You're right, it is a legalized criminal enterprise, and it made you both rich. You weren't calling it a legalized criminal enterprise when it was making you rich.
But Coop,
Now,
this is my thing. Regardless of all that, this ain't the fans' fault. To sit there and come at the fans on some, basically, we're not going to make this convenient for you.
Look, if the machine now that exists was more amenable and fair, it's like, well, nigga, if your songs were better.
Well, you know what?
Shit.
If you would have dropped some albums when you were supposed to, you wouldn't even be in this machine. You would have still been in the album era.
Hold on. You want to have some real talk? You want to know why we really love Nas and Jay? Because Nas and Jay have actually been outside of the machine for so long, they can literally drop the fucking albums that they want.
Yeah.
These niggas ain't been in the machine in so long. Whatever you want to feel like about the need for Jay to make a hit, that's because of how Jay views himself, not about the machine. He been out the machine.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Reggie with the super chat says, if Yassine Bey, Kanye West, Lauryn Hill, and Andre 3000 were to do a collaborative project, who opens and who closes out the track?
Probably the nigga who shows up on time. The nigga who's late's going last.
I think Kanye opens up the track. I
going in order of who shows
I think Lauren's probably going to close the track.
Well, Mike, we know why that's happening too.
Yeah. You're the last one to show up. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, do you feel like No Fear of Time still deserves discussion and Album of the Year discussion despite accessibility issues? It's still a stellar project. I think it does. Coop thinks it doesn't. Am I speaking for you?
No, like, are you talking musically?
Yeah, because that's all I go on.
Yes, but this is what I keep trying to say. Are we really for the people and by the people? Because I don't see how we can be for the people and by the people and be with these shits.
You make a great point.
This is the antithesis of like the rhetoric that they are espousing is literally the antithesis of at least of what we're about, because they're pretty much telling the people that made them who they are, like,
go screw themselves.
Even Mike, at the end of all of these shows, even though I don't comment in the chats and stuff, it's like thank you for y'all's support.
Yeah,
love y'all. Like, this shit don't cost me nothing, because it's like I understand that I'm sitting here right now and not out at work somewhere because of the people. So for these dudes to be sitting in the position that they are, because, I mean, quite frankly, people like me and you and the people who are watching right now, and to say stuff like, we're not going to bow to make things convenient, well, it just make me not like your ass.
Like Jay said, man, you could be anywhere right now, but you're here with us. And we really appreciate that, for real. Like, we really do. And we're not just saying that. And the fact that these guys basically tell the fans, we're not going to make the process of you getting, our project is 24 years overdue. Easy. Like what?
And this is what I mean about how all of y'all overrated that Black Star album as a classic, because look at the egos that you just fed.
Yeah.
That's why I keep
these
telling you.
These egos were created by the people, and that's true. Now, I agree with you.
And that's why I keep telling y'all that Black Star album wasn't classic. Look at what your ego has created by calling that album classic for so long, but it was never a classic. It's not a low-end theory. Mike, if that album was made by De La Soul, it would be the 5th best album in the catalog.
Michael Williams with the super chat says, Mike, do you think the Magic is better than No Fear of Time? Coop, do you think Magic is better than Cheat Codes?
Yes, Magic is way better than Cheat Codes, and Magic is better than No Fear of Time.
I think Magic is better than No Fear of Time. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, the lyrics and the lyricism and the production on there, it's collectively better.
I mean, Magic, it's still early because it hasn't been a year yet. I want Magic to have a chance to grow the way Pray for Paris and Alfredo has grown. But as far as the modern day classics that I've heard that have stayed, that we've rated, since we've been doing this. Magic, Pray for Paris, and Alfredo are the albums that stick out in my mind the most.
And speaking of the fan support that we love so much, we got our Patreon, linked up to the top of this chat. So check in with the Patreon for the Monday show where we actually go through the music and really break down the music. We've had some really great shows, and we bring people in to talk. Shout out to Leroy Green, who kind of took us off course in our previous episode, but it was a good conversation. Jay Short says,
I mean, you want to get into the rest of the Drink Champs episode so we can get to the versus thing and probably slide?
Yeah, definitely. Let me get to these super chats real quick if you don't mind. Jay Short says, even Prince gave you a physical CD in the tour. Yes.
Don't get me started.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just saying, like this is what I'm saying. Even though we all like the Black Star was still a classic, it's like that's what I keep trying to tell y'all. It's like, no, it wasn't. You were just going through. Here's what happened. First of all, they dropped between Illadelph Half-Life and Things Fall Apart. All right? Mm-hmm. While Tribe was ending, De La, we don't know what was going on with De La because they had dressed stakes as high. They had been on a hiatus that was longer than Tribe's hiatus. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They caught us at the right time with their brand of hip-hop. That album's not a classic. This is in between One Day It'll All Make Sense and Like Water for Chocolate.
People were looking for the next.
But it's a nice gap album between that style and that brand that had been getting made. Like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A nice little gap filler. It's not a classic. And here's why it's not a classic. If it's the classic, what you say it is, imagine that Nas does make Illmatic and then doesn't record another album for 24 years. Imagine Raekwon records Cuban Links and doesn't make an album for 24 years. Imagine Rakim making Paid in Full and not making an album for 24 years. No, that's a motherfucking classic. And that's why you niggas is wrong for calling it a classic.
That's very interesting. I never thought about it in those terms.
Hello. Right.
It's crazy.
Right. Mike, imagine Ghost making Supreme Clientele and being like, yeah, I'm out for the next quarter century. You'd be like, what the fuck?
Esquire says, I'm with y'all on the sentiment about No Fear of Time's release, but this is the first and only credible hip-hop source I've ever heard say Black Star isn't a classic.
Because it's the truth. It's not.
Well,
it's listen. Mike, it's not better than Things Fall Apart or Illadelph Half-Life. It's not better than the Low End Theory, Midnight Morocco. It's not better than the Cool by Lupe. It's not.
I don't even want to take it to those terms.
It was never like that.
I don't want to take it to those terms, Coop. It was actually rated in the same. It was actually rated in the same Source magazine where Volume 2 and Akumenai were rated. Akumenai got 5 mics. Volume 2 got 4.5, which I don't think it should have got. I think that's more of a 4, but I understand. But Black Star got 3.5. And then I'm not saying that's the end-all, be-all, but what I will say in 1998, its impact was very minimal.
Hold on.
And very niche. Now, I do think that they kind of carried the torch of the backpack rapper, which they denounced on this episode, on this Drink Champs interview. But I think that's the aura that people would carry with this album to make it classic because it ushered in that quote-unquote backpack mentality. Let's
go to 97, 98 right quick and go through some of the classic albums around that time, and you tell me how it measures up. Mm-hmm. Is it measure up to It's Dark and Hell is Hot?
No.
Or A Moment of Truth?
No.
Does it measure up to Aquemini?
No.
Then it's not a classic. Those were the classics that got released literally right around the time this album was out. What the fuck are people talking about?
Because you don't think that Volume 2 is a classic, but I would
put not.
Volume 2 is more of a classic than that album is.
Volume 2 is better than Black Star's album. It is.
It has more impact and everything. It was everywhere.
More impact, and I'm not talking about the record, so I'm talking about more impact.
Yeah.
As in, like, period. Yeah. As in the songs. As in, like, niggas still talk about Reservoir Dogs.
Niggas still talk about A Week Ago.
Right.
It is what it is.
Niggas still talk about the third verse on Nigga What, Nigga Who.
It's all right.
All I do is rap and sex. Imagine how I stroke. See how I was flowing like a Monash cassette. Grab a fire like I'm grabbing a tech. Never jam though. Never get high. Never run out of ammo. Niggas hating the shit because they change a bitch. You know your favorite. I know I made a second. Now you acting raw like you never had war. Don't never have a hoe. No, to marry a hoe. Now she mad at me because your majesty just happened. No, they don't got bars like that people remember off the top of the dome. Stop that classic shit.
Michael Williams with the super chat
Mike. I just went to Nigga What, Nigga Who off the top. Like, I ain't heard that song in forever, Mike. It's classic. It's classic Jay.
Yeah, it is. Michael Williams with the super chat says, who used drug addiction as a literary device better? 50 Cent on Baltimore Love Thing or JayZ on I Know. The concept is very similar. I think that 50.
I Know.
I think 50 did a better job on Baltimore Love.
I don't. Can I tell you what? I Know is one of those personal favorite JayZ songs with me. His wordplay and his literary device on there is. I love I Know as much as I love Sweet and Rock Boys. That's the best stretch of American Gangster to me. I love I Know.
I personally, listen, objectively, I would say the Black Album's a better album than American Gangster, but I personally like American Gangster more. I think that my favorite 3 J albums are Reasonable Doubt, The Blueprint, and then American Gangster.
I would have American Gangster probably fourth for me after the Black Album, Mike. But this is what I mean about the literary devices, Mike. I never heard a guy actually be able to say vehemently, like on record, when he goes, "How could you deny me so vehemently?" It's like I never heard somebody actually find the word and the rhythm and the timing to put in the bar work and make it work. It's astounding. It's like when Beanie Siegel used vestibule. Yeah. It's like how'd you do that? How'd you put vestibule in a bar? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no,
I
feel
know. So I would actually pick I Know.
Esquire says, cool. How do you say that Mobb Deep's Murder Music is classic but not Black Star? Black Star
Quiet
is
Storm's better than everything on
album.
Black Star's album.
Huh?
End of story. Quiet Storm's better than everything on Black Star's album. Tell me I'm wrong.
You know what, man? I'm going to give you this, man. I feel where you're coming from with Quiet Storm and the remix and It's Mine. But I might listen to the Black Star album more than I do the Murder Music album, but that might be because I only have one Black Star album before this one. And with Mobb Deep, we got 2 other albums that are probably better than Murder Music.
I tell you what, and there are 2 albums better than Murder Music by Mobb Deep, and this is what I'm saying. Like, that's who Black Star is, though. It's like, y'all not better than Mobb Deep's 3rd best album. Here's what I mean. Streets Raised Me. How You Want It with Cormega. Where You At with 8 Ball. Going Out with Lil C's. The Realest with Cool G Rap. It's Mine with Nas. Quiet Storm. No, Mike.
We might need to do a Patreon.
There's getting more classic joints on Murder Music than exist on the Black Star album off the top of my head. That's what I'm saying. It's like, no.
We might no. We might need to do a Patreon on those 2 albums and play those 2 albums track for track.
Let's go on Monday. Get out of my head. I was thinking the same thing. I'm gonna blow that Black Star album out the water with that Mobb Deep shit.
I'm with it. Let's do it.
You understand how dated some of that Black Star stuff is about to sound compared to the Mobb Deep shit? Because Mobb Deep is classic East Coast gangster shit.
Okay. Mad Max
Black Star is not classic backpack hip hop. That's the Low End Theory. That's Illadelph Half-Life. That's De La Soul is Dead. That's what I keep trying to tell cats. Right.
Mad
the level
Max
that they exist in, so many people exist higher than them.
Let me get to these super chats real quick. Mad Max in Super Chat says, if we're talking about modern day classic over the last 2 years, from a king to a god above everything else, just a cult classic, you got to go with 2018 for real classics. You know what? There was a lot of heat in 2018 and in 2020. I think 2020 was just a transformative year in hip hop. And we were going to talk about that too, because we were going to talk about Tana Talks 4 versus God Don't Make Mistakes. Richard's Reason says, I personally love the Black Star album, and Thieves in the Night is better than anything on Volume 2. Okay. People love Thief in the Night. I think Respiration for me is the record. Is the song for me. It's the record on that Black Star album that, to me, puts it leagues above everything else on the record. Like, if there was a record that I would put up against Volume 2 or anything else, I'm going Respiration.
Respiration is your only chance of beating Quiet Storm. It's your only chance on that album.
Great record. So much on my mind.
But this is what I'm trying to say about Murder Music, which is Mobb Deep's 3rd best album. Even if you were to say Respiration by some chance is better than Quiet Storm, which it's not. Well, Mike, I'm about to steamroll you after that.
We're going to play
best record to Quiet Storm. No, I got other classic mob shit right there. Mike, The Realest by Cool G Rap's better than everything else on that Black Star album.
I can't wait to play it, man. I mean, I don't think Murder Music's a classic, but I could be wrong.
Wait till you play The Realest against the 2nd best song on the Black Star album. Watch how it sounds.
Somebody said Respiration with remix Pete Rock is better. And guess who's on that? Black Thought.
G-Rap, Havoc, and Prodigy. Let's put these bitch niggas where bodies be done. You know, if it gotta be, gotta be. See you niggas on Monday. putting these niggas in 2 body bags. Like
Yeah.
Cool G Rex said on The Realest, I'm bodying these niggas on that Black Star album.
Yeah.
Murder Music. I can beat you with the Quiet Storm and the Quiet Storm remix. You took your 2 best tracks off the board, and then let's roll. I ain't even bought up the joint with Raekwon.
Click the Patreon link at the top. Click the Patreon
bought up the
link
joint with Ray on there. Ray went crazy on there too. Hey, everybody bought their A game to Murder Music, Mike. That's what I'm trying to tell people. Everybody bought their A game to Murder Music. Silk shirts in my chest show what a flirt. Halle Berry blew a kiss at the Barbra Streisand concert. You don't want none of that. You want to play Black Star next to that? I wish you would. Come on.
Esquire says, Coop, everything doesn't have to be a top 25 to be classic. There are hundreds of classic hip-hop albums. Black Star is arguably a top 5 rap album of 1998.
Yeah, like 5.
Is it even 5?
Like 5. Like maybe. Mike, pull up 98, because it's not better than Moment of Truth. Nope. It's Dark and Hell is Hot, or Aquemini, or Volume 2, so you're already at 5th.
Yeah, well, do you think it's better than Capital Punishment?
No, I don't. Capital Punishment got super lyrical with Black Thought, got Dream Shatterer, got Twins, Deep Cover with Fat Joe, got You Came Up with Noriega, got Tres Leches with Deck and Prodigy.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that, because it's not fucking true. Right.
Jay Short with the super chat says Black Star was overhyped because Tribe Called Quest left a void.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dominicano says
it's a gap. They're a gap group.
They are a gap group. Hold on.
They're a gap group.
I missed
they disappeared after they filled the gap.
Dominicano says Pop Smoke, DJ Clue, Clark Kent, Permanente, Latinos have contributed to hip hop culture. Not saying we created it though. Yeah, of course. You know, Latinos definitely have contributed to hip hop on every stage and every level.
I think I said that like multiple ways, multiple times.
Yeah,
so
I think he was just reiterating.
Missed. I spoke to the cultural reference and the influence of the Spear and just how the Bronx works and the melting pot that it is. And so like on all the Caribbean and Latino and island countries involved. So the Spear of influence is there. Talking about who the creators were, just like Jay Short said, if I pull up 20 years later, talking about I started hip hop, according to hip hop with Mike B and Coop, y'all gonna pull up, and we are. I'm gonna be at your door, and I don't want to be at your door when I'm 60 about some dumb shit. It's gonna look bad. I'll be like, this nigga didn't grow up at all.
I'm like, hold on, maybe my memory's bad. Yo, 400 Degrees came out in '98 as well.
7th.
This is just off the top of the head. You know.
So hold on. So is 1998 a top 5 rap year?
Possibly.
And
it's a
so
lot.
they had the 7th best album in the top 5.
No, we haven't even confirmed that.
That's what I mean, because I'm thinking, Mike, I think we're pretty certain of this. 94, 95, and 96 are better than 98. Are we correct?
I don't know. 94 might not be, as far as density
Illmatic,
goes.
Ready to Die, Southern Playalistic, Funkdafied, The Diary.
Yeah, yes. But no. 98 is kind of tough. We'll go through all of the 98.
I'm going to say this again. Illmatic, Ready to Die, Southern Playalistic, The Diary. What 4 albums in 98 are better than those 4 albums?
Well, you got Aquemini out there. You got It's Dark and Hell is Hot out there. You also have Moment of Truth out there. You also have Volume 2's out there.
Southern Playalistic? That's 94, Mike. That's what I'm saying. This is like,
I think that, like Mike, I said, the top of 94.
Infamous, Liquid Sword, Soul Food.
No, 95. No, 95 is better than 98. But 94
is too. So is not Mike.
96 is too.
I don't care what anybody says. Mike, when the top 5 rap albums that come out in your year go Illmatic, Ready to Die, Southern Playalistic, like no, Mike, that's hard to beat. That's Illmatic and Ready to Die dropping in the same year, and Southern Playalistic right there. Like that's your two monumental East Coast classics and your 2 monumental Southern classics getting released in the same fucking year.
No, it was a very monumental year, I think, but when you talk about the depth, after we get past that top 5 or 6 in 94, it's a big drop. Now 95 has a lot across the board.
I don't know. Hold on. Big L, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. Is that 94 or 95?
That is 95.
Okay, 95 still winning. What about OC Word Life?
You know what? I'm not as up on that as I need to be.
think OC's 94 with Word Life. Word
I
Life.
think, oh yeah, that is 94. But as far as like, you know, how it qualifies.
The Shining, Smith and Wesson.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
94 heavy.
I'll put 98 against 94, and we'll get the images going.
Yeah, let's put 94 and 98 up.
Yeah. Darren Harris with the super chat says Murder Music is gonna kill Black Star's album, but if the OG version of Murder Music, he said if the OG version of Murder Music had dropped, Mob would have had 3 classics in a row. Man,
it is 3 classics, even without the OG version.
What I was gonna say before we get off this Black Star topic is I love some of the stuff that Yasin Bey had to say about Kanye West's graduation and the fact that he believes that Kanye sold 1 million in a week. I know he said a day in there, but I think he meant a week. Because technically, it made me think. It's funny, I was having this conversation the other day. JayZ always made a deal about selling 1 million in a week, 1 million in a week. He never did it. Now, the people who have done it, Eminem's done it, 50 did it with the Massacre, Wayne did it with the Carter 3. And technically, I believe Kanye did it with Graduation. Now, they have him listed at 957,000 units that first week. But usually they round up, and that's 1 million in a week. I don't know if because Jay was president at Def Jam, that might have been a bad look if Lil Bro got 1 million in a week and he never did it. I don't know. Whatever. That's conspiracy theory.
It's the way Yasin said it that made you feel like it got circumvented.
I felt like that before he said it. I was having this conversation literally last week, and when he said it, it was kind of confirmation from me. He was like, it's an industry bullshit. But the other part of it, though, Coop, we also have to factor in.
Because you know how powerful that is how empowering that is for Ye to say, I'm selling 1 million records in a week like I'm Eminem.
Listen, here's the other part, though. Here's the kicker.
While Eminem is moving units still.
But Coop, this is the thing. He did this coming out the same day as a guy who has sold 1 million in a week. Who does that? Because all these other people that sold 1 million in a week, they had nobody in their way.
No competition.
Nobody in their way.
Including him. He had 50 in his prime standing in front of him, and he did 1 million. Yes.
Exactly.
It's one of the biggest moments in rap history.
So they put Kanye in a situation where the consumer had to make a choice. And you know who set that date. Now, I remember JayZ announcing that Kanye's date had been moved because I believe, because it was like on MTV.com days, I believe they announced that Kanye's album had been pushed to 50's date. So if Kanye comes out a week apart, 2 weeks apart, he's doing that 1 million the first week easy. Yasin Bey also alluded to the fact that he feels like even though 50 had the bigger resume previously, he feels like Kanye was kind of the driving force and even selling him some records in that week.
No, so here's some of the talking points. Yasin did call it. He's like, Kanye changed the whole macho notion.
He did.
That's what he called it.
We've said that here on this show.
He changed the paradigm of things and the whole macho notion of the. Because here's the thing: it's almost like, well, the high school quarterback gets the prettiest girl in school. It's like, well, the macho tough gangster guy gets to be called the best rapper and sell all the records and get all the notoriety and get all the girls and get to rock the chains and get to rock the Balenciaga and the Versace and all that. It's like that guy gets that. Biggie gets that. Pac gets that. Nas gets that. Jay gets that. Rakim gets that. G-Rap. Like this guy, he's not out of that mold.
Yep.
So 50's out of that mold.
Mm-hmm.
Southside till I die. That's just how I ride. Right.
And to have Kanye go up against that mold and still do the numbers he did,
I mean, so what he did is that Kanye actually went against the hip hop archetype of what an MC at the peak is supposed to look like, and he's like, it don't look like Ice Cube anymore. It don't look like 50 anymore. It don't look like Pac anymore. It don't look like Rakim in the Gucci suit with the big medallion. It's like it don't look like that no more. It looked like me in a pink polo with a Jesus piece.
He changed that, and it's been changed ever since.
It's been different ever since. He is the paradigm shifter. And you want to know what I was thinking, Mike? It's like when Yasin was saying all this, I was like, we got to change his rating as a producer and as an MC and as an artist because he's all three. It's like, no, his producer rating needs to go up, maybe to number one. His MC rating maybe needs to go into top 10, 15, including above Kendrick, because Kendrick hasn't shifted this paradigm like Ye. No, he is not.
No.
Ye is not a paradigm shifter. If JID is what you have to show for your paradigm shifting, it's like I'm going to show you Kanye and show you the rest of the industry.
I mean, we're going to show you Kendrick Lamar when we show you Kanye.
Facts, big facts.
Those Kanye made it.
Those are bars, son. To quote New Yorkers, those are bars, son.
Kanye made it proper in the mainstream for artists to be themselves. Like when you used to be yourself as an artist, you before Kanye, you were Little Brother or something. You know what I'm saying? No, you were a backpacker.
You would be lucky to go gold.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. You'd be lucky to go gold. He sent 1 million records in a week. You'd be lucky to go gold with that persona 5 years before he showed up.
Not only
as common.
Exactly. Not only 1 million in a week, Coop. He did 1 million in a week, coming out the same day as another guy who did 1 million in a week. That's crazy.
No, not
who
some
just
guy.
Did 1 million in a week.
No, not some guy. The only other guy other than Eminem that's doing 50 in a week.
You're right.
And he's tied to Eminem, which is part of why he did the milli. Kanye did this milli straight up.
Straight up.
Bars.
Imagine what he would have done if he didn't come out the same day as 50 Cent. He would have did like 1.3. Yeah.
Did Michael Jackson numbers. Did some Thriller Purple Rain shit.
That's
why.
You know what?
That's when.
I'm gonna say
when Yasin called it his Thriller moment. That's when I understood what he's talking about. It's like, hold on, in hip hop terms, and you're right. If you take 50 out of the equation, it's like, man, this nigga probably would have moved like 1.5 million units in a week.
Yeah.
That's Thriller shit.
Exactly. You know what?
Thriller shit.
That was very interesting of you, Jay, to move Kanye's date to the date that 50 was coming out. That was a very interesting move.
Very interesting how you did that.
That was a very interesting move.
Thought he set him up for failure.
Thought he did.
And he did.
But see, Jay was going to win either way. Because if Kanye wins, 50 goes down. If 50 wins, Kanye goes down. And Big Brother could step in.
Let me tell you why he didn't win. Because we're standing here today, and the dude that you founded your record label with is saying that Kanye's a better artist. You didn't win shit. You lost that day.
He is.
And that's actually where you lost, because that's where the paradigm shifted. Because here's the thing about it. You and I love College Dropout and Late Registration because it's just fucking classic. Everybody loves Graduation.
But the moment that, you're right. Graduation is the moment that Kanye West became the mega star.
That's when he became. That's when he got. Yeah. That's when we couldn't touch him anymore. After that,
I think Jay heard the album. He heard the album. He knew it was coming, and the best way to possibly, I don't want to say suppress it, but to level it out was for it to come out the same day 50 came out.
You heard it on the first single, Mike.
Yeah. Can't tell me nothing.
La 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 la. Wait till I get my money right.
And if he did 1 million in a week, Big Bro couldn't tell him nothing ever.
Mike, what about the literary devices? The Adam Eve, Devil Wears Prada, but I'm way more fresher bars. I was like, you, because you know what he is? He's rhyming like Jay on that record. You know that, right? That's Jay's bars. That's Jay's flow on Can't Tell Me Nothing. If the devil wears Prada, not I'm way between it. Okay, I can see that. That's Jay. That's what I'm saying. It's like, he's taking Ho's flow too.
And like I've always told people, if you really listen to Big Brother, it's not a record paying homage.
It's not.
It's a diss record. It might not be an outright diss record, but he's like, damn, man.
Listen to how he's talking on Touch the Sky with Lupe on Late Registration. Now Jay like, damn dog, you where I am. A hip-hop legend. I'm like, Jay told you that after one album?
Jay didn't tell him
clicking on his heels.
No, he said Jay's favorite line, dog in due time.
like, damn dog, you are where I am. No, then he said, Jay came back, now damn dog, you are where I am. A hip-hop legend. I think I died in that accident because this must be heaven.
That's why with the super chat says, y'all should do a poll asking if Black Star is a classic and let the people speak. I respect your opinion, Coop, but conventional hip-hop wisdom disagrees with you. Okay, we'll put the poll up.
How about we pull up on Monday and I'm going to have Murder Music obliterate that Black Star thought, because a lot of people struggle with Hell on Earth being a classic and tell me that that's a struggle sometimes to be a Mobb Deep classic. And Hell on Earth is definitely better than Murder Music. If you feel like that Black Star is a classic, this is what I mean. It's not a top 100 rap album.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Coop, do you listen to all music and keep score on it or just hip hop? I love the passion with music. I'm sorry. He said, I love the passion. What you listen to. Relax.
I listen to everything.
No, what do you listen to relax? That's what he meant to say.
Oh, well, I do a whole nother podcast called Mirror Music, which is also on YouTube with my dear friend from high school. And we juxtapose pop culture songs with hip hop songs. So you'll find us putting Let It Be by the Beatles with Dear Mama by Tupac. As far as what I like to soothe the senses and calm the soul, big jazz fan. Charlie Parker, The Verve Years comes to mind. Thelonious Monk. You know, even with my jazz, I like the articulate and the intricate and the special guys. So Charlie and Thelonious, you know, Miles, of course. Fats Domino. I'm a Fats Domino fan. I know that's more blues. I'm trying to think about the soothing stuff. I love old Billie Holiday stuff. My soothing music is probably Erykah Badu. Her early stuff, like Mama's Gun, is one of the most special R&B albums ever to me. I think Mama's Gun came out in 2000. I still think Mama's Gun is the best R&B album that came out in the 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't think there's been an R&B album that's been made that's been better than Mama's Gun since Mama's Gun got made. And so that stretch of that album is where my real relaxing place. Orange Moon, In Love With You with Rohan Marley, AD 2000, Green Eyes at the end, Didn't You Know, of course, which I believe Dilla did the beat to.
Yeah.
I believe Dilla. Well, you can tell by the drums, Mike, because the drums sound better than everybody else's drums.
Right. Dominicano with the super chat says, I'd rather listen to Quiet Storm than any Black Star song.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every
Which one?
day,
The
Mike,
remix or the regular one?
It's hip hop. That's what I'm saying. It's like, don't do that.
Willard Winston with the super chat says, if JayZ and 50 decided to challenge each other for promotion like 50 and Ye, Jay would have sold 1 million the first week. No, I don't believe Jay would have outsold 50. I don't. Now that I don't believe. And you know, it's interesting to think, did Jay ever come out the same day as anybody else?
Yes, Aquemini.
Okay.
And
Volume 2 in the Aquemini?
September 29th, 1998.
But
Matter of fact, they all came out the same day. Volume 2, Black Star, The Love Movement, Aquemini.
Yeah,
best release date ever. All 4 albums released the same day.
Those are groups. I mean, like one-on-one. He's not coming out the same day as a DMX or something.
Oh, no. There'll be no It's Dark as Hell Is Hot or Magic or like none of that are in between. No.
Hassan Sykes with the super chat says, it's easy with Ye when you have great features when 50 don't. He didn't have no features on Graduation. Let's not rewrite history.
Lil Wayne on Barry
Bonds.
Lil Wayne on Barry Bonds.
Well, he did. He had that and he had most. But he said he had Nas and Jay at the time of their beef. That brought more eyes to his album. Now, that was Late Registration. Graduation just had Wayne on Barry Bonds. And this is Wayne before the Carter 3. This is Wayne before the Carter 3.
There's no way that you heard Diamonds of Sierra Leone and Gold Digger as a head. You wanted to hear the Jay and Nas stuff that was going to be on the album, but he had you. That's
I think that the College Dropout was the only one that was about the features. The rest of them was about him. College
Dropout is about the features.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That's not even fair because it's like, Mike, the 3 best records on there, to me, are still All Falls Down, Jesus Walks, and Spaceship.
No,
those are
I agree with
records.
you. Once you
those
get into
Kanye records. That's Ye. That's why I love him. That was the buy-in. That's why the album starts off that way.
I agree. I'm saying the draw were the features. But when you get into the album, you're like, this guy's nice. Yeah.
I still play All Falls Down, Mike.
All Falls Down tells you everything you need to know about Kanye West, past, present, and future.
It's the Kanye West tutorial.
Yeah.
Get in the car and ride.
Yeah. Inspector with the super chat says Murder Music is the most bootlegged album of all time.
Told you about Feel My Gap Blow, Mike. Feel My Gap Blow. That was track 3. USA, Alright Then, on the bootleg is the first track, and Streets Raised Me is at the end. That was one thing that they fixed that needed to be fixed. Because Alright Then is not a good start for Murder Music. That's actually one of the weaker songs on there. So when they moved Streets Raised Me to the front, and they cleaned up the engineering on Streets Raised Me. I remember all this like it was yesterday.
Andrell Green with the super chat says G Unit album, the Black album, dropped the same day, if I recall. G Unit sold more, if memory correct serves me correct, but the Black album was an instant classic. That's very interesting. 50 didn't even have to go at Jay solo. He beat him with the G Unit album. So that answers your question for somebody who said something about Jay dropping the same day as 50.
Somebody just reminded me that D'Angelo's Voodoo dropped in 2000. I'm aware. Mm-hmm. So there's like 3 songs like that sound like they belong on Mama's Gun. Mama's Gun sounds like that. There's like 3 songs on Voodoo that are as good as what's on Mama's Gun. 3.
Jay Short with the super chat says, I feel like Diddy started the popularity of the non-MC rapper. He sold 10 mil and people knew he couldn't rap. Not saying that he didn't have a lot of help. That's very interesting. I've said that before too. I think that Diddy did open the lane for guys who couldn't rap to actually rap and be superstars at it.
Well, actually, I believe Yasin said this during the show. He's like, well, Puff with No Way Out worked. Mm-hmm. So understand, when he's saying that it worked, he's saying that had never worked like that before.
No.
So listen, Yasin from Brooklyn, he's ahead. This is what I'm saying. It's what they don't say. It's like when he's saying Puff with No Way Out worked, he's telling you everything like that before wasn't about to work. Puff changed some of the paradigm, and that's some of the early opening for Kanye to get in, is the 97 No Way Out album.
You're right.
With the cumulative and compiled thought from the producer being the front man, but the songs being there and it working, because you got Been Around the World, All About the Benjamins, but you got your street shit like Young G's, and you got your in the middle like Club Banger, the street shit like Victory. No, it worked. And so No Way Out is actually Kanye's way in.
Mad Max with the super chat says, honestly, Ye shifted the culture so much that Drake and K-Dot and Cole couldn't be who they were. I think Ye and the RZA, is the reason why people in my generation, fawn over this guy. 3 stacks, so much Ye made you appreciate 3K. I feel like Wayne's the one that made people appreciate 3,000 after the fact. I will give Wayne that credit.
I agree with you.
Wayne bigging up 3,000 at certain points where he didn't even have to. Even that line
the Maybach Music joint.
Well, I was going to say his line on the Millie.
3 stacks, right.
I was going to say his line on the Millie is what kind of really helped that too.
But that's the thing. He said the same thing on Ross's album, on the Deeper Than Rap album, on the Maybach joint with Kanye. You hear the 2-pack, Andre 3 stacks, and then I'm right back with it spitting Maybach music. So that thing that he spit on a Millie, that's an old bar.
Yeah,
Mike,
he kept putting Andre's name in the lexicon with Tupac, Big.
Well, I'm going to tell you why. That was kind of self-serving, too, is because he realized he wasn't getting into that lexicon without putting his predecessor in the lexicon.
Yeah.
Because lyrically, his predecessor in terms of who's recognized in this region would be who?
3,000. We all knew that.
Because Wayne's the most recognizable lyricist post like Drip, right? So that's homage too. But also too, that made me actually think about something, because Wayne had used that bar before, Mike. This is just head talk right quick, and we're gonna jump right back to it, Mike. You've always said Ghost's verse on The Game on Pete Rock's album is the best verse. You're wrong. I'm gonna tell you why you're wrong. You want to know why you're wrong?
Why is that?
Because he used some of those bars on Supreme Clientele. He literally held those bars for 2.5 more years and spit some of them out on one. The second verse to one, the Travolta line.
Castor Troy waiting for Travolta. He just said
that's on one.
Yeah. And he said, look behind the drapes. It was just that one phrase.
It doesn't matter.
Oh my God, come on.
You can't recycle and have the best verse. He held that bar because here's what he thought. He's like, niggas outside of New York didn't hear that Game joint that I did on Pete Rock's album. I'm going to flip it on one. Mike, you and I were talking about how we grew up in the South and how we got teased growing up the whole time for following all that East Coast shit. Look at it paying off. But that's why I always told you, Prodigy has the best verse. That's not a recycled verse. Ghost verse is recycled. He used those bars on one. I don't care. It's actually 2 bars. He chopped the bars up. There's a bar before the bar in between the Travolta line that he used on 1, 2. So he used 2 bars from that, and he took them and put them on one. That lets me know that he remembered the verse, and he didn't feel like the verse got proper shine. Prodigy didn't do that. Nod to P.
I definitely want to play that song on the Patreon as well.
We're playing it on Monday. Play the game on Monday.
Yeah.
Prodigy got the best verse. I told you Prodigy had the best verse. You know, I went digging, right? I was like, yo,
Right.
I gotta hear my True Master like once a month. You know what I'm saying?
True Master's crazy.
I gotta hear True Master.
True Master might be the most underrated beat of all time.
It might be the most underrated rap song of all time.
Shit's
like it's
crazy.
got Deck and Corrupt going fucking bananas on there.
Shout out to Pete
Deck and
Rock,
Corrupt,
man.
it's not like B minus Corrupt
No,
or Deck. It's like A plus Corrupt.
I think Corrupt
Deck.
had the best verse.
You want to know what? I've always said Deck, and I've always said maybe it's a tie mic. Corrupt's bar style on there is
Corrupt
flow on
went
there is so
crazy.
sick, Mike.
Yeah.
Flow so sick.
Yeah,
And it's a West Coast guy riding an East Coast beat like this, so it hitting your ears different.
yeah.
You know, like how he's hearing the beat, like he's hearing some of the snares and the hi-hats different from how he's parsing out his flow. And so if you're a traditionalist, you know what I'm saying? How he's dropping on the beat, it's like, oh shit, he's dropping on the snare in between him dropping on the drums.
Shit is crazy.
Crazy.
Hassan
But you
Sykes
gotta
with the
do your
super
music
chat.
shit.
Hassan Sykes with the super chat says, my bad, I got mixed up with graduation and late registration. Please disregard. That was all good. It happens. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, Kanye produced Watch the Throne and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy in the same year. What other hip-hop producer have done that? The L Web 100 says, look at what 50 did for his artists under him. Nobody really benefited under Jay like that. Well, Jay wouldn't say that. He said on the God Did verse, he'll tell you otherwise. He'll say LeBron James came from his camp.
Okay. Corrupt is originally from Philly.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. Where he go to high school? Where he meet Snoop at?
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
When did he move over to LA?
See, that's what I'm saying. It's like I know he met Snoop in high school because they got into the freestyle battle that made Snoop remember him, and that's how all the Dog Pound shit started.
But
Right.
even if you want to talk about adjusting, I mean, we don't know who he worked with in Philly. We don't know if he was in a group with anybody in Philly. But when he went out to the West Coast, that's when he started making music, and he had to adjust to that. So if he's going back to Pete Rock or whatever, he's adjusting again. That speaks to his versatility.
What I mean. Like when it comes to claiming this rap shit, you kind of claim it where you birthed it at. It's like, so I've told you this. I've spent more of my life in Atlanta than I have in Charlotte. Okay? But when it comes to this rap shit, I claim Charlotte because that's when the rap shit started. The shit started for me and my cousin on West Boulevard at our grandfather's house. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
The rap shit for me started in Charlotte and in Greensboro. So I've never claimed Atlanta on some rap shit. Mike, my first album that's on iTunes, it starts off by First in Flight because that's what the North Carolina name tags say. It ends with 704 because that's the fucking area code for the Charlotte, the original area code for Charlotte. You get what I'm saying? So It's like I claim Charlotte. I spent more time on the east side of Atlanta than the west side of Charlotte. I claim the west side of Charlotte. The rap shit started on the west side of Charlotte. My family from the west side of Charlotte. My family from West Boulevard. I came up on Beatty's Ford in Southwest. Like, that's west side. That's Charlotte. That's where the rap shit started.
Well,
That's
saying
where it's
Corrupt
at.
is from Philly is like saying that, you know, Premier is from Houston. You know what I mean? It is
Right.
what it is.
Primo from Houston. Luda's from Illinois, Mike.
Yeah.
And not even from Chicago, I don't think.
No, it's like a city, like what,
Like
an hour and a
Champaign or
half
something like
outside
that.
of, hour and a half or something.
like a
outside
city
of
like an
Chicago.
hour or so away. That's what I'm saying. The Brat's from Chicago.
Yeah.
Most
Boy-
of her shit's ATL.
Born King with the super chat says, meth on extortion. Oh my God. Hell on earth. Yeah. Meth
Hold on.
feature
hold
game.
on.
was
Allberg,
great.
yeah, I know Salisbury, North Carolina. My grandfather went to the Veterans Hospital in Salisbury, North Carolina. That's where he passed away at.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Andrew Green.
My grandfather passed at the Veterans Hospital in Salisbury.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, always. That's the guy that made me who I am.
Wow.
That's the guy. Yeah.
Andrew Green with the super chat says, all the homage songs are low key disses to people that they look up to and and have them in their feelings. Big Brother, Let Nas Down, Slaughterhouse by Button, etc. It's true. Michael Williams with the super chat says, you guys need to do a track for the Black Album versus Get Rich or Die Trying. The Black Album is better. I would die on that hill. Better as
I see we got
better
a whole bunch.
lyricism?
Hold on. Mike, I'm just sorry. I see we got a whole bunch of Carolina people up in here. I hear Goldsboro. I went to college with people from Goldsboro when I was up in Greensboro. Jonna talking about You from the South Side, LOL. No, I'm from the West Side. We just moved to the South Side. My junior going into my senior year of high school. I'm Beatty's Ford, Southwest Boulevard, LaSalle. My great grandparents bought land on West Boulevard in the 50s. We are as West Side as it fucking get. My cousin went to grade school with Anthony Hamilton up in Clinton Park. I know the nigga that made Sunshine Anderson's first demo tape over in Little Rock on West Boulevard, West Side, West Side.
Not Mike City? No?
West Side. His name's Mike.
Okay, Mike City, yeah.
Yeah, say less.
Hassan Sykes with the super chat says, y'all stop it. Ye makes compilation albums. No, not Graduation. Graduation just had Wayne pre-Carter 3. Yeah, and Mos Def was singing on there. That's it.
Had Carter 2 Wayne. And had Dwelle on Flashing Lights, which is still my favorite.
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as like rap.
Oh, you mean the bars? You mean the bars? Yeah, the bars is like Jeezy doing ad libs and Wayne on Barry Bonds. That's the rap shit.
Willard Winston, and it's so fitting that that's the album that broke him, and I think that's great. Willard Winston with the super chat says JayZ sold 700,000 the first week with American Gangster. A beef with 50 would turn that into $1 million. American Gangster sold that much the first week?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, I'm gonna have to do some little recon on that. Is that true?
Hold on, how much did they say?
700,000 the first week. American Gangster. I think
that's a little inflated. I feel like
because that didn't even have like a big lead single or anything. Like Blue Magic was the single for that album coming out the gate, and that didn't do that great. And I love Blue Magic, but Hassan Sykes with the super chat says, Ye has more help in terms of features than anybody. Not DJ Khaled. Darren Harris with the super chat says, Then is much better. Is much better when it was Street Kings featuring Nas. But Columbia Records would not clear 2 Nas features. I hate when that happens. I hate that. They went with the Scarface sample instead. You want to go to this versus thing, and then we can, I guess, kind of transition up out of here. Mad Max says,
I want to make sure we got everything covered.
Let's see.
Did we miss anything?
Did we miss anything? Got the Triller thing. Because you didn't see the Murder Inc. And we'll probably talk about more of that on Friday because they still got episodes coming out. Puffy and Dre in the studio. We could talk about MSNBC talking about this guy did verse, but that verse is not worth doing a whole extra segment on. Hold on, let me get some of these super chats. Mad Max says, I'm talking about the sonic wise. I feel like because of Ye's style, and then Kendrick talking the 3000 style, a lot of people who grew up on them go back and hear Andre and feel familiar, similar to with me with Nas and Rakim. And that's true because Kendrick does sound a lot like Andre 3000, and I could hear somebody saying, you know what, let me go back and listen to where Kendrick got his whole style from, which I think is the Slim Cutter Calhoun song, It's Okay.
It's Okay.
Yep.
Hold on, Mike, you want to hear another story? So I'm at amateur night at Strokers, and I keep bumping into these dudes, and I'm toe up, and it's late, and I'm like, who are these guys? Why these guys keep acting like they rich? It was the Dungeon family, Mike. I was chilling next to Slim Cutter Calhoun. The very next day, I used to live in the apartments on Cobb Parkway, right across from the Best Buy. I forget, it was a Friday because amateur night at Strokers used to be Thursday. It's Friday at like noon. I literally like pull my whip out. I mean, like I live so close, Mike. I'm still in my pajamas. I'm still in my house shoes. Still got crust in my eye. This is how much of a music head I've been. I'm picking up a CD. I'm standing in line and I look up. This nigga Slim Cutter Calhoun is standing next to me. He looks up and he looks at me. He's like, nigga, wasn't you right next to me at Strokers last night? I was like, no, nigga. I said, wasn't you right next to me? I was like, and what are you doing up here? He's like, I got a little thing up here. I spent the night up here last night. And he chopped it up for a minute. So it's like I ran into him at Strokers on Thursday night for amateur night. And then he was up on Cobb Parkway because he had a little thing up on there. And we had a whole combo and chopped it up and dapped out on the way out the door. But that's how Atlanta works.
Yeah. Lex Diesel with the super chat says, not sure what's more blasphemous, Black Star charging their fans monthly for one album or JayZ's long-winded, desperate, self-praising verse on God Did. I don't know either. I think as far as on the blasphemy meter, I'm going God Did. As far as the disrespect to the fans meter, Black Star. Mad Max with the super chat says, LOL, also me and Cole and Nas, I think, I had to listen to Cole before I really loved Nas, because I wasn't big on Nas as a kid. But once I got to college, Nas was it, because Cole's style was Nas-like. Interesting.
I never got that. I never got that whole Cole and Nas thing. Because here's the thing: Nas has always been big in North Carolina, and I think that has to do with it. Just like Lil Kim's always been big in North Carolina.
Hassan Sykes with the super chat says, Ye has more heavy feature albums than strictly solo albums with less features. As a rapper, Ye has more help. But I think that's more about him being a producer too. Because the producer in him wants to, create for others. Like he said, what he said, triple-double, no assists.
Triple-double notices.
Yeah.
Those are bars.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
yeah, I think that the Sony lawsuit's the only thing left on the list.
I think this is the most important thing. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Well,
Are you working? What kind of work will you do?
Well,
right. The Gangstar shit. I told you, like, the moment of truth, man. The name of the album is so appropriate. The skits, the stuff they're talking about. Wherever you are, baby Paul, realize that your essence is divine, son, and let it shine, son, as we refine, son. Hey, yo, that shit'll blow your mind, son. We're royalty. Like, that's what I'm saying. How can you say the DMX's and JayZ's bars, even though they might be better or more important when Guru's talking that way?
You're right.
You feel me?
I think Moment of Truth is that.
Because is it why
it
takes a nation of millions so important is because of the rhetoric that's being espoused in the upliftment of it? The Moment of Truth has a lot of, like, it takes a nations to it that people don't realize.
You're right.
I love the inspiration is there.
And sonically, man, that album just sounds like the winter / fall to me. I love it.
It sounds like East Coast hip hop.
Yeah. All right, so in this final story before we get up out of here, Sony is suing Trilla for copyright infringement for verses. And I guess Trilla has come back at Sony and said, you know what, we're going to clear all of the Sony catalog off of our platform. But when I read this story, immediately, all of the talking points that I've said throughout this show since Versus has happened, I'm like, how are they able to play this music without getting in trouble with the labels? So Sony actually suing Trilla for basically doing what Swiss and Tim have been doing since the pandemic. It makes me feel like I might have been right the whole time, Coop, and the major labels were actually behind Versus from jump.
So can we go back to this pandemic starting and the Versus started?
Sure.
And I'm not even sure if I have these messages anymore because I can remember getting them from you late. Mike, this is over 2 years ago that you sent me this and you told me, you were like, cool. You were like, who's providing the licensing to play these songs live? You're like, Timberland and Swiss did not make these songs, don't own these songs. Who owned these songs, Coop, that's allowing this to happen? Who's the black hand in this? Do you remember our late night chat? I'm talking about like 2.5 years ago, Mike. We were having a late night back and forth. I was like, yo, Mike, I was like, I don't know. I was like, when we were trying to figure out like who run it, like 3-6 Mafia. We're like, who run it?
Yeah.
Who run it? We're like, and you and me literally came to the consensus that it's like, we're going to have to wait and let time tell. But you proposed this notion, I think, right after the DJ Premier RZA thing. I feel like you hit me up and was like, but hold up, Coop. Like, who run it, though? And I was like, shit. I was like, I told you, I was like, well, I don't like these two dudes. I know these dudes don't run it. And then you were like, well, Trilla don't run it. When Trilla came in and we were trying to figure out what they were doing with it. And then Trilla popped up and we were like, that's what they were doing with it. And then when Trilla popped in, you posed the same question. You were like, but Coop, that still don't explain who run it. Like, just because they taking the Trilla don't mean that explains who run it. You and me are having this conversation in 2020.
Well,
okay?
a couple of things that kind of raised my antennas is when Bun B was out there. This was still during the pandemic. He was talking about, he basically was getting people to petition for UGK and 8 Ball and MJG to do a versus. And I'm like, why can't y'all just pull out y'all devices and do it yourselves?
Right.
And And I was like, okay, well, I guess there's some barrier there where for whatever reason people got to go through this Versus brand. And I was like, this has to be something to do with publishing. And what kind of solidified it for me is when DJ Paul and Crazy Bone were about to do a Bone and 3-6 Versus, and Crazy Bone pulled out last minute because he got a phone call from Swiss Beats, allegedly. I don't know. And
saying, let's do this right.
Yeah.
Correct?
And it was like, and it never really came into fruition until like 2 years later. And I'm like, okay, people can't do this with their own music. I've heard Big Boy from Outkast.
I'm gonna tell you what happened with Bone and 3-6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were both independent first, and they both signed the labels that Sony didn't have their hands on.
Well, see, I think at least on 3-6 is in. I think 3-6 is such a wild card. DJ Paul didn't get a call because he owns so much.
No, that's what I mean. So I mean, obviously, with Bone, you have the Interscope side, and so Sony can get to that. Yeah. So 3-6 was always the problem, but here's the thing about it, and here's how you have to think of it. You have to think of it for how an industry person thinks about it. Of all these guys between Bone and 3-6, who's the biggest star?
Like Bone is. I think Bone has the legacy, but 3-6 has the influence.
Right, but who's the biggest star? Like labels. Think about what labels know.
Oh,
look at it like you're a record exec. Look at it like you're Tommy Mottola.
What would that be? Juicy J? I don't know.
Nope, Crazy Bone, Mike.
Oh, you talking about between the two individuals?
That's why Crazy Bone was the one they put on pause.
Yeah,
they put the star on pause.
Well, I don't know if they could do that with DJ Paul because they have such a weird catalog, right? Like if they got a call from, because they were distributed by Loud and whatever, they got a call from the majors, and they're like, listen, you can't play this, this, and this. DJ Paul could be like, cool, I got a whole nother underground catalog that people know that I can play. Bone can't do that. Sorry. You know, and I love Bone. I was actually a Bone fan first. Reggie with the super chat says, Mike, did you and Coop see DJ Drama on Math Hoffa's podcast talking about he wants to do a versus with DJ Khaled and DJ Clue?
No, I didn't.
I don't know how competitive a Clue one would be because it's like a lot of mixtape stuff, and that's just more of an era thing. But I don't even know what. I don't know. I'm not interested. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm trying to make myself interested for a second. I'm not.
Well, let's kind of like let's finish unpacking this whole Sony.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean,
I think Versus is officially over now with Sony jumping out there doing a lawsuit.
I mean, here's what Sony did too. Like Sony was pretty much like, you guys are out here having pissing contests about our shit. Like y'all are running something.
Yeah. And
we're insulted at the fact that you guys are jumping out here, as in all of you, as in Trilla, like this is one of those. This is what I mean. I keep on bringing up 3-6 Mafia. Well, who run it?
Because what Sony's really doing is the dirty laundry.
Hold on. He's like, hold on. They're like, this our baby. This our check.
Yeah.
This our idea.
Well, cool. Hold on. This is the dirty laundry that Trilla. This is the dirty laundry that Trilla was referring to in the previous comments.
Yes, that's what they're talking about. Because here's the thing, Sony. Because here's what Sony was doing. Sony is like, how are we going to survive this pandemic?
Mm-hmm. We can't. Our artists can't do concerts.
And who can we use to help sell it?
Mm-hmm.
And so, Mike, like I've been saying, you were right about the motive, and I was right about the people. Because when you popped up with the motive, I popped up, and it's like, well, your motive picks the people that they are picking, because those are two guys that aren't really inundated with this culture enough to give a fuck enough to do the right thing, like I was saying from the jump. So you were right about the politics and about where the ownership was going to trace back to, and I was right about those guys being suspect and not really owning shit and being about shit.
Yeah, because the thing is, what did they actually...
You ain't about shit?
What did they actually sell to Trilla if Sony calls the shots, or whoever the music publishers are? It might not just be Sony in pocket. So
hold on, Sony been out here calling shots, and what they didn't own, they went and acquired to make this happen, or paid people to make happen, i.e. DJ Paul.
But you know what? Throughout this whole process, you remember when Versus did that deal with Apple Music, and then Versus did a deal with somebody else, and then we got the Triller. At no point did we ever hear news about Swiss Beats and Timbaland doing a deal with Sony, ever.
Never.
Inspector says, "Can we talk some Slum Village Fantastic 2 one day? Flawless album. I love that album. That was my senior year, high school. I listen to that album now, and I think like I can't believe we were high schoolers listening to music this intelligent and this refined, rather." Hassan Sykes with the super chat says, "Khaled doesn't rap while Ye raps." Yes, this is true. Let me see some of the other super chats. Jay Short says, "Didn't Swiss and Tim try to tell us that they own shares in Triller when they sold out?" No, sorry. No, Sony. Now Sony is suing Triller. Oops. Yeah, where do they stand on this lawsuit? That's what I want to know. Because all right,
I'm
let's
gonna tell
just
you
say
what they
this.
saying. They saying these niggas ain't running shit but y'all mouth, because the first nigga talk, first hater getting tossed out.
Well,
Who
cool.
running?
This is what I'm saying, and I'm not wishing this on anybody, but I don't understand why if Versus and Timbaland and Swiss are their own entity, then why isn't Sony suing them too? Because they use the music, right?
Hey, hold on, Mike. First of all, be patient.
I'm just saying they're not going to
No,
sue
be
them.
patient.
They're not going to sue them. They're not going to sue them because they've been working for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So like you're right. Bosses don't sue their employees because their employees don't have enough money. Because their employees don't have enough money.
There's nothing to sue them for. They did the job that they were supposed to do. It's
Hey,
Triller.
Mike, I just want to be clear. That was Swiss Beats last August next to the greatest MC of all time while he was spitting verbal and of course talking about doing it for the culture, right? I just want to make sure we're clear.
Well, you know, they sell
Same
culture.
guy? Same guy today? Same guy today? Okay.
They sell culture to the highest bidder. And it is what it is. It's the business, right?
No, it's business. Just say that it's business. Like, understand that the business acumen of black people in this nation have changed, and these motherfuckers need to stop selling dreams and just start telling the truth.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's why I told you. It's like, everything that you've been talking about that's going on, it's like, well, there's really nothing wrong with it except for the fact that they're not keeping it funky with us.
Why couldn't they just say, why couldn't Tim and Swiss just say, you know what, we've teamed up with Sony and, you know, dealing with the music publishing, this is what we're able to do. We're able to bring you guys these matchups, yada, yada.
Because the name of the game is manipulation and trickery when it comes to this community. And it is usually perpetuated by our own who have been paid to do it. So this is this is puppet shit, Mike.
It's entertainment.
Just to be quite frank with you. And these are $100 million puppet niggas. That's why this shit is so sad. It's like, you niggas are worth hundreds of millions of dollars and you still being puppets for these guys? It's like, y'all the niggas who disgust me. Well, I don't want to do this shit and I ain't worth $1 million. It's like, you niggas is some suckers, like I've been saying.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I think they're just doing their job.
No, sucker nigga. Rule number 4080, record company people are shady. The low-end theory, Mike.
I think what people need to understand.
Niggas on the low-end theory, too. You want to know what Tribe's talking about? They're talking about all these industry politics that are corrupting the musical sound. Tell me how Timbaland and Swiss are part of the solution and not part of the problem, given what you know. Because they sound like rule number 4080.
Cool. I think what people need to do at this point in the information age, in the transparency age, is just to be honest. You know, this isn't the days where you could just tell people whatever,
you can't tell people anything anymore.
And nothing just comes to light. Everything's going to come to light. And I think Triller knew that too.
About it. Stop being a sucker nigga about it. Like, you're going to get found out. Like, you're going to get found out in this climate. This is the digital age of information.
Yeah.
You're going to get found out. You can't hide it for 5-10 years and then run off with the bag and people be like, oh, damn, they got us. It's 2 years later. And podcasts like this exist now where we're like, no, nigga, that don't smell right. That don't look like. What y'all doing? Y'all don't own nothing. Y'all producers. What y'all own? Y'all own Sony catalog? No, Sony own that catalog. Interscope own that catalog. Columbia. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want to know why Jay and Nas shit won't happen? Because they can't foot the bill to even probably get Jay ass to come up off some of the reasonable doubt shit. Jay's like, I want $75 million from you bitches. Y'all are Sony.
I mean, that's distribution. Y'all. You know what I'm saying?
I want $75 million from y'all just to play my reasonable doubt shit in the versus Nas. Fuck y'all. Yeah. What up?
So where does Versus go from here in your estimation before we hang it up for the night?
Well, I think we just burned it down, so it's not going anywhere now.
Well, I mean,
no, I'm just joking. I don't know where they go from here. It's just, transparency is just the name of the game these days, Mike. You got to keep it funky with people. You got to be honest with people. You got to kick it straight to people. I told you about them Isley Brother checks. I was serious about that. I know the Isley Brothers and Earth, Wind, and Fire better get paid out of this. Yeah. I know whoever's left from James Brown Band better get paid out of this. I don't give a fuck about Timbaland and Swiss getting paid or Sony getting paid. They can all kiss my ass. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I think that's no, all of y'all is paid. Y'all okay. I want to deal with the guys who aren't okay that help make this culture is what it is. Because if it's for the culture, let's take care of the people who help make this culture possible.
Well, Sony's going to get their money. Don't worry about that.
Who got their money?
They're going to get their money.
And if they don't got their money, they got the attorneys to go get their money.
Yeah, they're going to get their money.
Not going to win. Not going to win.
One way
I told
or another.
You what they did, they just walked out and was like, we're the Corleone family. We're knocking off the other 5 families since all of you guys keep talking. We're going to knock you off. You can get knocked off too. We're Sony. You know what we own? You don't own shit. Now do what we say before we apply pressure. This is them letting you know we're about to apply pressure. Understand who the Don is and shut the fuck up.
Well, what do you think about artists that are actually
for the culture? Nigga, these niggas own you. They'll pull up. Look, Sony pulled out up on these niggas out the middle of nowhere like, we own you. We own everything.
So what do you think about artists that, you know what I think? This is my, and I'll have no information for real. I feel like Sony might have put them out there for the lawsuit first and be like, look, we're going to see if they're going to pay them. And then when they refuse to pay them and artists start, boycotting, Sony say, you know what, forget this. Let's just step in and we're going to get our money.
Say that again. We're going to get our money, not their money.
Yeah.
Not their money. We're going to get our money.
Reggie says,
so we just got played again. They're going to get their money.
The house always wins.
We're going to get our money. When are we going to get our money?
Reggie with the super chat says, Versus is going to circle back to smaller artists they ignored when Versus was at its peak. That's a possibility. They might actually go back to producers like they should have done in the first place. Jay Short says, Tim and Swiss coming out of pocket when the industry is done with its tools, it breaks them. Shout out to PBA, man.
I don't need this wrench anymore, crack. I don't need this hammer anymore. Put that in the trash. Let that get rusty. We're going to sit there, hammer out in the rain. We don't need to put any more nails in this wall. He already did it for us. We can sit this hammer in the rain, let it get rusty. It can fall apart the next time that we hammer it. We'll just get another hammer.
PBT, I mean. Yes. Yep, that's pretty much how it goes, man.
Hammer. We can get another hammer.
We'll have to see.
Literally and figuratively.
We'll have to see. I think that since everybody's out on the road again, festivals are popping again, I think that the scare for, public crowds, for lack of a better term, is down. I think Versus is kind of over. It was a great thing while it lasted. Got us through the pandemic. It was cool. Now it's over. Let's get to our sponsor and get up out of here.
That sounds like a plan.
All right. You already know. Relax. Oh, let me see if I got it on the screen. There it is. Relax Relief CBD. Promo code A2HH to get 10% off. You guys need this, man. I've been chilling on it. I want to say, man, I'm doing it like 2 times a week. How about yourself?
Yeah, the first week was kind of like that test kit kind of week. So it's like I tried everything and kind of like overloaded and obviously found in my pace with the stuff. I think the CBD stick is still my thing. Mm-hmm. The 2 grams of oil of the CBD just for the calming effect. It's for all you guys that think that I get too amped. I'm just passionate about stuff, really. I really don't need it for this show. I'm really just promoting on the show. It's when the people outside of hip-hop make me mad. See, hip-hop is my release point. That's why it's like I love Relax Relief, because it's like, well, no, what the CBD does is actually what hip-hop provides me. But unfortunately, I only do this podcast now 3 days a week, and I'm thanking God for that it's now 3 instead of 2. You all need to get up on our Patreon link. And so some of the stress has subsided, but motherfuckers be trying me still. And when they do, I be like this.
Well, on that note, about to get up out of here.
Then I look at him, Mike. Then I look at him and be like, and I hold the smoke.
Somebody said no VMAs review. I mean, I tried to watch the VMAs.
What are those?
And
what are those?
I didn't.
This is what I'm talking about. It's like, man, I'm trying to be, look here, you're not going to have me forever on my rap shit. I'm 40. But for as long as you got me, I'm trying to be on my rap shit, like my hip hop aesthetic, like building out this culture the right way. I don't need Nas next to me spitting 16 bars of verbal intercourse to sell my culture. Like, I don't need it. Maybe those other guys with hundreds of millions of dollars and Nas spitting verbal intercourse to them need it. But maybe they need to realize it's like, oh, well, you never needed that at all. It's like, if you got, this is what I keep trying to say, is like, if you got Nas next to you spitting verbal intercourse live on Instagram, you already got everything that you need to win. Fuck Sony. Fuck Trilla. Stupid ass niggas. Right.
I don't know if it's that simple, man. When you're in the system,
it is that simple, Mike. They got power players in their pocket that don't have to follow industry standards or norms. Do they not have Missy in their pocket? Nas in their pocket? Jay in their pocket?
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
You got Nas, Jay, and Missy, right? Do Timbaland and Swiss have access to Nas, Jay, and Missy? That's all I want to know.
But what can they do with that? What can they do?
So you got a whole other level of power and access that don't involve playing the game.
Those motherfuckers ain't
playing the game.
Who
and
puts
playing
the music
game.
out?
Jay is playing the game and taking niggas' money. For whatever I say about Jay, Jay is playing the game and taking these dudes' money.
Jay Short with the super chat says this is why Sony wanted that music from Michael. Yeah.
Like Mike Jacks, what hold on, what Nas say on Success? Like what? Mike Jacks ATU part, Matola can't touch. Yeah. Let this bitch breathe.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
That's what I'm saying. No, somebody's right too. Yeah, Michael Jackson straight up bought the Beatles catalog in front of Paul McCartney. He's like, "That's mine, bitch."
But no. He gave Paul a year or so to get it, and then he saw Paul wasn't serious about getting his music, so he got it.
I mean,
he gave him a chance.
First of all, Mike is one of the best and nicest guys ever. Beatles catalog would have been available for about 30 seconds if I would have had the money. It's like, oh, it's available. Check, run it.
Yeah, I mean, he gave him the courtesy, and you know what? People try to make it seem like, Paul may have felt the way about it, but people made it seem like this was a knock at the Beatles, but he was still Sean Lennon's godfather. So obviously, Yoko felt no way about it.
I think people are missing what I'm saying. If you have Jay and Nas and Missy, and that's Timberland and that's Swiss, when you have enough wealth and you have enough talent in the room to create and own your own and put it out there. How about
not if you're under contract though?
This is what I'm saying. There's so many ways to skin a cat, and Wayne has shown us that with all his recording stuff. What about the album with 2 Chainz when he was going through the stuff with Cash Money? That's what I'm saying. It's I don't want to hear this shit. People have been dancing around the contract and all the litigation for years.
But I think for producers though, it's about placements, right? And I think that these guys have.
At what point? They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You niggas are still worried about placements?
It's about placements.
That's ego, if that's the case.
It's about placements, and at what point?
Because it's filthy rich.
I mean, I don't know what people's overhead and expenses and all that stuff is like, but yeah.
It better not be enough to be concerned about placements at this point on Justin Timberlake ass niggas. Like, no.
Because the thing is, Coop, if they go down, their price is their price, right? And so if they go work with an artist that doesn't have that, but because there's not artists that aren't mega stars that have the budget to get a Swiss Beats or Timberland track in 2022.
I just said they got Jay, Nas, and Missy, so they got the artists with the money too. That's why I keep going. We're gonna keep on going around to the money.
Well, Missy's not making music. Jay and Tim tried.
She did a joint a couple years ago, Mike. It just didn't.
It just wasn't that good, and I love Missy.
No, it was fly. You didn't like it?
The last thing I liked that Timberland and Missy...
one of the producers that did one of the joints.
The last thing that Timberland and Missy made together that I liked was like in 2010. And it was that, what was that? It was like that 9th inning stretch that they did. It was like 2 songs. So yeah, they not clicking on cylinders like that. And honestly, Jay and Tim tried to make an album with Holy Grail. That wasn't it. And Swiss and Jay ain't really making whatever. And Swiss did a pretty good album with that, what is it, Poison. I like Poison. Poison was cool. But for the most part, them artists that...
I like Poison.
And Nas got his thing. Nas got his thing with Hit Boy. So, he's out of the picture when it comes to them. You think Nas want to work with Timbaland right now? Who's the last person that got a Timbaland hit? For real.
Or a Swiss hit. That's why I keep trying to tell you I didn't like that, how they look for the culture. Because it's like... Oh, those dudes were making hit records like 20 years ago, and they weren't hip hop's best hit makers, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, it's like specifically, if you take DMX and JayZ out of the equation, their hip hop stratus dies drastically.
That's
you feel
fair.
what I'm saying? If you take DMX and JayZ out of Swiss Beats and Timbaland's catalog, hip hop wise, doesn't it suffer?
It does, especially J for Tim and X for Swiss. But Swiss, he got banned from TV.
Yeah, for TV is the shit.
Yeah, he got stuff from the locks, whatever. But you know, his strongest stuff is the X stuff. So
the memorable stuff is the X stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Tim's memorable stuff is the Missy stuff, where Missy's kind of a hybrid. But if you want to talk rap stuff, it's the J stuff.
And that's what I mean. Timbaland's memorable stuff to me is like Aaliyah on 1 in a Million, Genuine on The Bachelor, Missy on Miss E So Addictive and Super Duper Fly. It's like that's genre bending stuff.
Yeah, you're right. All right, well, let's get up out of here, man. We're gonna holler at y'all Friday.
Yeah, we do.